Chapter 1506. Lu Tingxiao's words were reasonable, and there was nothing wrong with them. Old Lady Tang said fiercely, Mr. Ko, you just need to take care of my Xian'o. As for that little bitch, I have my own ways to deal with her. Although Ning Shuo was the flesh and blood of the Tang family, and Sun Lan and Tang Shan missed their daughter, in old Madame Tang's heart, nothing was more important than her grandson. So what if Ning Shuo was her own granddaughter? Even her own son and daughter-in-law had to step aside. Old Madame Tang would never allow Ning Shuo to harm her precious grandson. Lu Tingxiao said that on purpose because he knew this. He knew that for Ning Shi, the Tang family was her weakness. The best way to deal with Ning Shuo was through the Tang family themselves. Because Lu Tingxiao had a meeting the next day, Ning Shi and Lu Tingxiao drove back to the capital after dinner. They didn't stay together for long after they got back. Lu Tingxiao had been very busy recently, and Ning, she was also very busy. Lin Jiji had just helped her sign an endorsement deal with a first-tier brand that several big names, including Ning Shuo, were fighting for. The script for a new movie was also being selected. Zailing was preparing for this year's Lorraine Fashion Week. If all went well, it would be released next year. Everything was on the right track for Zailing Ning. She didn't need to keep an eye on her as often as before, but at such a critical time, Ning Shi still tried to find time to go there herself. Fortunately, the shooting of 9 Firmaments was going well, and it would be finished in a few days. Lu Tingxiao's scenes had all ended. Ever since that time, at the KTV, Mo Qinxiu had finally given up. Even Meng Shi, who had been causing trouble for her, had been abnormally quiet lately. It could be said that the bitterness was over and the sweetness was beginning. Her days on set were very carefree. Finally, after shooting today's scenes, Yunshin was also about to be finished. She could finally be completely free. Ningxi was drinking juice and humming a little song when she suddenly heard a faint voice. Are you in a good mood? Yunshin sat down on the luxurious massage chair next to her. As he talked to her, he played with a Swiss Army knife in his hand. The saber in his hand was flying up and down rapidly, and it was a terrifying sight to behold. Ningxi frowned. The moment the saber was in the air, she grabbed it, put it back into the scabbard, and threw it to Yunshin's bodyguard. Her voice was extremely cold. Yun, are you courting death? The bodyguard hurriedly took the knife and timidly looked at his boss's reaction. Yun Shun was stunned for a moment, but there didn't seem to be any anger on his face. His bewitching eyes rippled with a bewitching smile. Darling, are you worried about me? Ning Shi's face darkened. Narcissism is a disease. It has to be treated. I just feel sorry for Annie, okay? It wasn't like this guy didn't know his own situation, yet he still played with such dangerous things. With such a troublesome boss, she really felt tired for his subordinates. Yun Shun held his forehead and stared at the girl beside him without blinking. Honey, you're so cute when you say one thing, but mean another. Ning Shi. Cute my ass. Cloudy depths. He looks so cute every time he talks about me, Ning Shi asked. How long have you been in the haunted house? The man chuckled. Tang Shi. Ning Shi's heart skipped a beat. This guy never called her by her name. Every time he called her darling, something bad must have happened. Chapter 1507. Ning Shi looked at him warily. What do you want? Yunshin said, let's get back together. Ning Shi. Ning Shi, President Yun, get ready. The next scene is about to begin. Guo Qixing's voice came from not far away. Ning Shi stared at Yunshin as if she had seen a ghost. Hearing Guo Qixing's call, she hurried to the shooting site. This was the last scene of Ning Shi and Yunshin. Speaking of which, Yunshin's plot in this scene was quite brilliant. It was definitely a super pretentious scene that could make him more daddy fans. In the scene, Yun Huang was besieged by the major immortal sections. Her life was hanging by a thread, and there was no chance for her to escape. At this time, the legendary Big Devil Yun Sitian, who had been in seclusion for hundreds of years and had never stepped out of the poison hall, appeared. All the elders, venerables, and masters of the major immortal palaces were like ants in front of him. Yun Sitian was invincible and saved his daughter on the spot. Oh, I've been waiting for this scene. I'm so looking forward to it. My daddy Yun is so handsome. Many fans and the crew were excited. After this scene, Daddy Yun will be finished. I'm so sad to see him go. I can guarantee that when our show is broadcast, the ratings will be off the charts. Not to mention Brother Shi and movie Queen Ming. Each of our characters will be so brilliant even if they are minor characters. Under the expectation of a group of fangirls, Ningxi and Yunshin were put under pressure. Not far away, Jiang Mai held his chin unhappily. Damn it, I have no part in the sex scene with the heroine, nor the hero saving the beauty. I must be a fake male lead. Mengxi frowned slightly when she heard this. What did he mean by no part? Wasn't she the heroine? In fact, Jiang Mai did have intimate scenes and scenes of the hero saving the beauty several times, but those scenes were with Mengxi instead of Ningxi. In the scene, Ningxi was much more powerful than the male lead, so the male lead really didn't have any chance to save the beauty. All departments, get ready. 3, 2, 1, start. At Guo Qixing's order, Ningxi immediately got into character and flew forward with a stern look. Demonis, where do you think you're going? Several cultivators chased closely behind Yun Huang. Yun Huang's body was injured, and she clutched her abdomen as she ran while struggling to avoid everyone's attacks. Finally, the Cloud Phoenix was forced into a dead end. In front of her was a cliff that was tens of thousands of feet high. There was no way out. The Cloud Phoenix retreated step by step as the group of cultivators closed in on her with covetous eyes. They formed an encirclement as they vowed to slay the Demonis here and now. Kill her. Kill her. This Demonis slaughters the innocent, utterly devoid of conscience. She even seduced a disciple of the celestial sect without any sense of shame. Everyone has the right to punish him. Guo Qixing waved his hand nervously, signaling for the cameraman to keep up. The high-altitude camera on the steel frame gave Ningxi a bird's-eye view. Under the sky, the girl casually wiped the blood at the corner of her mouth with the back of her hand. Her whole body was so red that it was hard to tell whether it was the color of her clothes or blood. In the face of despair, there was no panic or despair on the girl's face. Instead, she was as arrogant and reckless as ever, as if she was facing death to live. She was Yun Sitian's daughter. Even if she died, she could not show any fear in front of these people. Chapter 1508. There's no need to talk about morality with this demonic woman. Everyone, let's attack together. In an instant, everyone wielded their immortal weapons and swarmed forward. Just as the Cloud Phoenix was about to be surrounded and turned into dregs, a black figure appeared in the sky. With a wave of his sleeve, it was as if he had the power to destroy the heavens and the earth. Everyone fell to the ground in a mess as they wailed. Killed in one move. Yun Huang looked at the man who flew down from the sky. Her expression was a little dazed. Perhaps because she knew that she was finally safe, all her strength began to drain away. Just as she was about to fall, she fell into a cold and gloomy embrace. Daddy, be good. Yun Sitian, who was dressed in black, gently placed his daughter to the side. Then he looked at the people from the immortal sex with his extremely cold eyes. He looked like a demon who had crawled out of hell. The actors and extras all looked terrified. They had been acting righteously just a moment ago, but now they were all scared. Some of them even stumbled and ran away. Guo Qixing nodded as he watched. The assistant director next to him exclaimed, "This director Yun's acting is too good." His gaze, TSK, TSK, TSK. But, as a father, isn't his behavior a little too ambiguous? Guo Qixing shook his head and said, No. Yunshin handled it very well. In the movie, Yun Sitian's wife was the chief disciple of the #1 immortal sect. Because she fell in love with him, she was killed by the people from the immortal sections. Not even her corpse was left. Yun Sitian hated people from the righteous sects to the core. What happened back then was his biggest obsession and inner demon. Facing his only daughter, who looked very similar to his wife, and seeing her being surrounded by the righteous sects, it triggered his memories of his wife's death. So his current behavior isn't too much. The assistant director nodded as he listened. The filming was still going on, but the rest was relatively simple. Yunshin did a few cool and pretentious moves to defeat the attackers. Then, With the post-production effects, the scene would be over. Just as everything was going smoothly, the scene suddenly changed. The camera above Ning Shi's head made a frightening click sound. Then, it fell from the stand and smashed directly in Ning Shi's direction. At that moment, Ning Shi was lying on the ground with her eyes closed, pretending to be unconscious. So, she had no idea what was happening in front of her. By the time the cameraman shouted, "Get out of the way!" it was already too late. The people around them also cried out in alarm. Ah, Ning Shi. When Ning Shi opened her eyes, she only felt that a body suddenly pressed on her from the side, and then the body pressed hard in her direction and gave a muffled groan. Cloud depth. Ning Shi abruptly helped Yunshin, who was on top of her, to block the heavy blow of the falling camera. "Oh my God! President Yun! Boss Yun! President Yun! How are you?" Everyone in the crew was in a mess. "Boss!" Yunshin's two bodyguards also rushed over, their faces pale with fear. "What are you yelling about?" Yunshin straightened up impatiently. His movements looked a little stiff. Because he was wearing black clothes, it was impossible to tell whether he was injured or not. Ning Shi immediately took off Yunshin's dark pattern long robe and examined it carefully from top to bottom. Her expression was one of unprecedented panic. Chapter 1509. "Honey, there are so many people here. Don't you think it's inappropriate?" Hearing the man's annoying voice, Ning Shi was so angry that she almost bit her teeth into pieces. She didn't even care about the staff around her and shouted, "Are you fucking crazy? Who told you to come here?" Being scolded, the man seemed to be in a good mood. "Why are you so fierce to your savior?" Ning Shi ignored him and tore off the man's coat, revealing his white underwear. When she saw the bright red blood, Ning Shi's face suddenly changed and her hands began to tremble. "You're bleeding!" Yunshin turned his head to look at his arm and frowned. "Tut, it's so troublesome. Oh my God! President Yunshin is injured. Quick, call an ambulance." The people around them shouted. Ning Shi forced herself to calm down, but her voice still couldn't help trembling. "No, it's too late. It's too late. Ning Xiaoxi, how are you? Are you hurt?" Jiang Mai squeezed over, panting. Ning Shi immediately looked at Jiang Mai. "Jiang Mai, what car did you drive here today?" Jiang Mai was puzzled. "My big red sports car. What's wrong with it?" Ning Shi hurriedly helped Yunshin up. "Take us to the hospital." "Jiang Mai, Ning Shi, hurry up." Jiang Mai, "Oh, okay." Not far away, Ming Shi watched Yunshin risking his life to save Ning Shi. She was so jealous that her nails almost broke. Damn bitch. She actually charmed Yunshin to the point where she didn't even care about her life. She used her noble body to help that bitch block the danger. On the other side, Ning Shi quickly helped Yunshin into Jiang Mai's car, and then urged Jiang Mai to go to the nearest hospital in the capital. There was a long cut on Yunshin's back near her neck by the metal piece on the camera, and blood was gurgling out. Ning Shi tore the cloth on her dress and quickly did emergency treatment. Then she pressed the wound with her hand and tied the rope to urge Jiang Mai, who was driving in the front. "Jiang Mai, can you do it or not? Drive faster. If you can't, let me do it." Jiang Mai was speechless. "Damn it, who said I can't do it? I'm already fast enough." She actually said no to a man. Ning Shi kept urging them, "Don't worry about the red light. If there's no one, just drive over. Quick." Jiang Mai glanced at Ning Shi from the rearview mirror. He had never seen Ning Shi so nervous before. His face darkened and he said in an unkind tone, "It's just a minor injury. Do you have to be so nervous?" Ning Shi snapped, "Don't talk to me. Focus on driving." Jiang Mai's face was full of grievance. "You were the one who had been urging me to disturb me." They were both ex-boyfriends, but wasn't the treatment a little too different? In the back seat, Yunshin quietly watched the girl frowning and sweating on her forehead and chuckled. "You don't mean what you say. You said you don't care about me." Ning Shi stared at the blood flowing faster and faster between her fingers. "I just don't want to owe you any more." The man's eyes dimmed slightly. He leaned against the back of the chair and muttered, "Tisk, so cruel. Can't you coax me just once?" Ning Shi, "Shut up. Cut the crap. Save some energy for me." Jiang Mai listened to the conversation between the two people in the back seat and felt more and more strange. Was Ning Shi too nervous about Yinxin? This ex-boyfriend was really the scariest. Chapter 15:10. Finally, they arrived at the hospital. Ning Shi helped Yunxin into the emergency room as fast as she could. Jiang Mai parked the car and was about to chase after them when he caught a glimpse of the back seat of his car. His eyes widened in shock. Damn it, it's just a skin wound. Why is there so much blood? It's a hemorrhage. Jiang Mai was in a daze. He had no time to think and hurried to catch up. When Jiang Mai arrived, Yunxin had already been sent to the emergency room. Ning, she was anxiously talking to someone on the phone. Yes, the emergency room of the First People's Hospital of the capital. Hurry up. Jiang Mai saw Ning Shi's hands and clothes were covered with blood. There was a trail of bloody footprints in the corridor. Damn it. Ning Xiaoxi, what happened? Is there any other injury on this guy? He's bleeding too much. Jiang Mai asked in a daze. Ning Shi sat down slowly on the bench in the corridor and pinched her eyebrows tiredly. He has a blood coagulation disorder. Once he's injured, the bleeding can't be stopped. In addition, Ning Shi didn't mention a more difficult problem. No wonder. Jiang Mai suddenly realized why Ning Shi was so nervous. He knew a little about this disease. He had a friend in the circle who looked normal at ordinary times, but once the bleeding couldn't be stopped, it was more terrible than menstruation. Time went by. After a long time, the door of the emergency room was suddenly opened. A young nurse came out anxiously. He's bleeding too fast. It's difficult to stop it with medicine. Besides, he has Rh-negative AB blood. The blood bank of the hospital is not enough. Even if we transfer blood from other hospitals, I'm afraid the blood in the whole city can't stop him from bleeding. What? Rh-negative blood? Isn't it panda blood? Jiang Mai was dumbfounded. This guy not only had a blood coagulation disorder, but also extremely rare panda blood. Wasn't he too unlucky? What Ning Shi worried about the most finally happened. She said with a gloomy face, I have a friend who can stop bleeding with acupuncture. He's already on the way. It would take Annie at least an hour to get here from Peach Blossom Cove. Even if she arrived, the effectiveness of acupuncture to stop the bleeding would be limited. The only way was to keep him alive and buy time for his body to recover. However, his blood type was so special. Once the blood was used up before the bleeding was stopped, he would die from excessive blood loss. At the same time, Annie and Tang Yi arrived at the hospital as fast as they could. Originally, the doctor didn't allow Annie to go in, but Tang Yi said something to the doctor, and the doctor immediately let Annie in. Ning Shi anxiously waited outside, and her face became uglier and uglier. There were too few people with this kind of blood. There were not many people in the entire imperial capital, and there were even fewer records. What happened? Tang Yi walked to Ning Shi after communicating with the doctor. The camera fell. He blocked it for me. Ning Shi smiled bitterly with a pale face. That bastard. Don't you know your own body's condition? Why do you insist on showing off? Tang Yi glanced at Ning Shi and sighed softly. Even if he knew, he couldn't ignore it when he saw the person he loved was in danger. Even if he knew he would be in more danger, with a swish, the door of the emergency room was opened again. The young nurse's face became even uglier, and she brought bad news. The blood has been used up. The patient's blood pressure is dropping rapidly. Do you know anyone with this blood type? Ning Shi's face turned pale, and despair appeared on her face. Just then, a series of steady and powerful footsteps came from behind, accompanied by a man's deep voice. Use my blood. Ning Shi turned around and looked at the man behind her in great surprise. Lu Tingxiao. Chapter 15:11. Then hurry up and come in. The young nurse hurriedly urged him. Lu Tingxiao didn't have time to talk to Ning Shi, so he hugged her gently and comforted her. Don't worry, I'm fine. Then he followed the nurse into the emergency room. Tang Yi watched the man enter the emergency room, and a white light flashed across his glasses. Holy shit, what a coincidence. My uncle also has panda blood. Jiang Mai murmured in surprise. He really didn't know about it. Ning Shi didn't know about it until now. She stared at the emergency room with a frown. She didn't expect that Lu Tingxiao would suddenly come and coincidentally have the same blood type as Yunshin. Yunshin and Lu Tingxiao entered the emergency room at the same time. She sat on the bench outside with Jiang Mai by her side, and Tang Yu was making a phone call at the end of the corridor. The atmosphere in the corridor became more and more stagnant. Time passed slowly, and it was extremely hard to bear. After a long time, the door of the emergency room was finally opened again. She stood up and greeted him. "Doctor, how is he?" The doctor in a white coat was sweating all over and said tiredly, "He's out of danger for the time being." Then Annie also came out. The little girl was also sweating, and there were several bloodstains on her clothes. "Brother Shi, don't worry. Thanks to Mr. Lu's help, Brother Shun is fine now." At this time, two nurses pushed Yunshin out of the emergency room and walked towards the ward. Seeing that Yunshin was fine, Ningxi's tense nerves finally relaxed a little, but she immediately tensed up again. She looked inside anxiously. What about Lu Tingxiao? As soon as she said that, familiar footsteps came from inside and Lu Tingxiao came out. Perhaps because he had drawn too much blood, the man's face looked very pale. He had taken off his coat and was only wearing a white shirt. At this moment, his sleeves were rolled up, and he was using his finger to press on the opening of the needle. Ningxi hurried to hold him. "Are you okay? Do you feel dizzy?" Seeing that the blood had stopped, Lu Tingxiao let go of the cotton ball and reached out to rub the girl's hair. "I'm not that weak." Ningxi held Lu Tingxiao carefully and asked, "How did you know what happened to me?" "Shi Xiao called me," Lu Tingxiao replied. "I see." Ningxi looked at Lu Tingxiao's pale face and felt distressed. "I'll cook something delicious for you later. I'll make it up to you." Jiang Mai, who had been forced to work as a coolie coachman and was continuously abused, was speechless. "What about me? What about me? I worked so hard to be your coachman, and the baby you just bought is now covered in blood." She treated her ex-boyfriend and current boyfriend so well. "Was he a dog?" She took out a bunch of car keys from her pocket. "Thanks. You can drive my little white first. I'll wash your car later. After we finish filming, I'll play games with you all night." Hearing the last sentence, Jiang Mai finally calmed down a little, but he was still angry. Lu Tingxiao was fine, but Ningxi was so nervous about Yunshin, which made him very unhappy. This kind of mentality is like, you can't be jealous of Einstein, but you will be jealous because the kid next door is better than you. Annie followed Yunshin into the ward while Tang Yu walked up to Lu Tingxiao. His gaze was a little ambiguous, and he seemed to be testing the waters. "President Lu, thank you for your help." Lu Tingxiao said, "You're welcome. Xiaoxi's business is my business." Chapter 15:12. In the ward, Yunshin hadn't been unconscious for long. He only had a superficial wound, so he would be fine as long as the bleeding was stopped. The man looked very quiet when he was unconscious. His soft silver hair covered his forehead, covering half of his eyes and eyebrows. He even looked a little fragile, which was completely different from his usual arrogant look. However, as soon as he opened his eyes, he seemed to be armed and immediately changed back to another person. A trace of vigilance subconsciously surfaced in the man's eyes. He quickly scanned the surroundings, and when his gaze landed on the girl standing by the bed, the gloominess in the bottom of his eyes retreated, replaced by his usual languid and frivolous look. "Tisk, looks like he didn't die." Ningxi glared at the man. "Is there anyone who mentions death in the hospital?" The man looked regretful. "I'm so disappointed." Ningxi was speechless. "Disappointed that you didn't die?" The man looked at her with a faint smile. "I suddenly want to see what kind of expression you'll have after I die." Ningxi. "This lunatic! Honey, I saved you again." The man's eyes flashed, and he suddenly said with interest. Ningxi looked like she had been fucked. She said warily, "Don't try to trick me again." God knew that she wished that she was the one who was hit. The man chuckled. "I bled so much for you. It's okay if you stay and take care of me until I recover, right?" Ningxi had thought that this guy was going to make some outrageous request again. If that was the case, she would definitely reject him immediately. However, this guy suddenly became normal, and his request wasn't outrageous, so she didn't know how to reply. "Honey, help me peel an apple." Ningxi hadn't even agreed yet, but someone had already started to make requests with a smile on his face. Ningxi frowned and looked at the bandage on Yunshin's shoulder and the blood all over his body. In the end, she went to the side to get an apple. Just as she was about to peel the apple, a hand suddenly reached out from behind. Lu Tingxiao had come over and naturally took the apple and fruit knife from Ningxi's hand. He said coldly, "Let me do it." When Yunshin saw the person, he glanced at him with a faint smile. Lu Tingxiao's movements were quite skilled and fast. In a short while, he had finished peeling an apple. The skin of the apple was all connected together, and there was no break in the middle. It was simply a cure for obsessive-compulsive disorder. Lu Tingxiao's slender fingers passed the apple in his hand to the man on the sickbed. Then he said expressionlessly, "She owes you. I'll pay you back." Lu Tingxiao. Hearing this, Ningxi couldn't tell how she felt. On the hospital bed, the white-haired man narrowed his eyes slightly, revealing a cold glint. However, he didn't show it on his face. He glanced at the apple in Lu Tingxiao's hand and pretended to be disgusted. "I only eat apples that are cut into the shape of bunnies." Ningxi. Enough. Lu Tingxiao was not angry at all. He found a tray and quickly carved the apple into the shape of a rabbit. "I suddenly don't feel like eating apples anymore." The man on the sickbed pursed his lips. His eyes flickered, and it was simply captivating. "Help me change my clothes." Hearing this, Ningxi finally couldn't stand it anymore. She looked as if she was going to bite him to death since he dared to flirt with her. "Fuck, that's enough." Chapter 15-13. Damn it, this guy didn't discriminate between men and women. Could he have taken a fancy to her sweetheart? In fact, she had suspected that he liked men for a long time. After all, before returning to China, she had always appeared in front of this guy dressed as a man. After pretending to be a man for a long time, she had almost forgotten her own gender. She remembered that when Yunshin asked her to date him, she was so shocked that she said, "I'm not gay," on the spot. Later, she and third senior sister Feng Xiaoxiao had discussed it many times in private, and they both suspected that he liked men. Seeing Ningxi's expression, the man on the sickbed chuckled. "Don't worry, I'm not interested in men." Ningxi was still vigilant. "Do you think your words are credible? Also, although you helped me this time, you were bleeding like a woman on her period and almost died. It was Lu Tingxiao who gave you a blood transfusion to save you, so we're even." When the man heard this, a thoughtful look appeared on his face. No one knew what he was thinking about, but he casually said, "As the head of the Lu family and the helmsman of the Lu group, do you think the entire Lu family doesn't have any rare blood types in storage just in case?" And he wanted to give me a blood transfusion personally. "Ha, darling, you can't even see through such a superficial trick. Has your IQ been fed to the dogs?" As soon as he finished speaking, Lu Tingxiao's eyes suddenly darkened. He looked coldly at the man on the sickbed who had a provocative look on his face. At the same time, a hint of worry appeared in his eyes. After hearing Yunshin's words, Ningxi was stunned. Then, she looked at Lu Tingxiao blankly. In the next second, she threw herself into the man's arms and looked up with a touched expression. "Sweetheart, thank you." Ningxi suddenly recalled what Lu Tingxiao had said to her back then. "I just want to tell you that no one or anything can affect your decision. The only thing you need to consider is me. There's only one thing, and that is whether or not you like me," and he really did that. In order to not let her feel burdened, he didn't hesitate to personally give Yunshin a blood transfusion just to help her return the favor. Lu Tingxiao breathed a sigh of relief and looked at the girl with an extremely gentle gaze. There was never a need for words to explain between them. As for Yunshin, he was so angry that he almost vomited blood again when he saw the two of them hugging each other. Ahem! Tang Yi, who was at the door of the ward, spoke up in time to save his boss, who was almost angered to death. "Little junior sister, you can go back now. I'll take care of things here." Ningxi scratched her head. "I'm sorry. I'd better stay and help. After all, it's because of me." Tang Yi could only sigh and speak tactfully. "Your presence here will cause the patient's emotions to fluctuate." Only then did Ningxi realize that she seemed to have accidentally abused a dog. Yunshin's eyes seemed to be murderous, so she quickly pulled Lu Tingxiao and ran out. Ahem. Okay then. Eldest senior brother, contact me if you need anything. Bye-bye. After Ningxi and Lu Tingxiao left, the man on the bed was displeased. Meddlesome. Tang Yi adjusted his glasses and didn't reply. Master is on his way. Yun Shun frowned, and his expression became even worse. This is troublesome. Not long after, the sound of footsteps of about 3 to 5 people could be heard outside the ward. Then, the ward door was pushed open, and a middle-aged man in a Tang suit walked in. Chapter 15-14. The man glanced at Yun Shun, who was lying on the bed. His expression was extremely ugly. Nonsense. Then he looked at Tang Yi with a gloomy expression. Didn't I tell you to keep an eye on him? Tang Yi immediately admitted his mistake. It's my fault. In fact, he didn't even look at him because he knew that he wouldn't be able to keep an eye on him even if he did. What happened? Xiao Yi seemed to know Yun Shun's temper. He took a deep breath to suppress his anger and asked in a low voice. Tang Yi briefly explained what had happened, then said, Satan's blood type is under the Lu family's control in all the black market blood banks in the imperial capital. I initially thought that they were going to take the opportunity to kill Satan. I didn't expect Lu Tingxiao to personally transfuse blood for Satan. Umph. The man on the bed snorted again when he heard this. He looked like he was disgusted by Tang Ye's blood. Xiao Yi changed his attitude and said, Ah Shun, it's not that she doesn't have feelings for you, but there are too many temptations out there. Lu Tingxiao is a scheming man, so it's normal for her to be infatuated. She's a young lady after all, so she really can't resist a man like Lu Tingxiao. Then Xiao Yi changed the topic. But if one day you take over everything for that person, do you think there will still be women who will follow him when he has nothing? On the contrary, if you don't fight for it, more will be taken away from you, including Tang Shi. Xiao Yi stopped there and left the ward. Before he left, he signaled Tang Yi to follow him. Tang Yi's eyes flickered, and he had no choice but to follow him. Because Tang Yi had booked the entire floor, there was no one on this floor. The corridor was cold and dead silent. As soon as they left the ward, Xiao Yi's murderous expression immediately spread. Ah Yi, you've disappointed me. With a swoosh, Tang Yi half knelt down on one knee, lowered his head and said, Tang Lang's skills have improved very quickly. Don't tell me that even you are no match for him. Yes, Tang Yi answered without hesitation. Xiao Yi looked down at Tang Yi. From his expression, he could tell that Tang Yi was deliberately letting him win. After a long time, Xiao Yi finally said, Fine, I'll go there myself and get rid of that bastard. Tang Yi clenched his fists by his side. Master! At this moment, a sudden sound of footsteps came from the end of the corridor. It was abnormally clear in the quiet air. After hearing the familiar footsteps, Tang Yi subconsciously raised his head, and then he saw Tang Lang. Tang Yi's expression instantly changed when he saw who it was. Xiao Yi's murderous aura surged as he glared at his former disciple. Evil creature, how dare you appear in front of me? Tang Lang's expression was as carefree as ever. He grinned and said, It's been a long time since we last met. I've specially come to greet you, Master. Xiao Yi looked at him as though he was looking at a dead man. I'll allow you to say your last words before you die. Heh. Tang Lang chuckled softly. He raised his head and looked at Tang Yi, who was now completely flustered. Eldest senior brother, I'm about to die. Why don't you let me see my little caca one last time? Tang Lang. The moment Tang Lang's voice fell, Xiao Yi attacked without hesitation. Looking at the two people fighting fiercely, one was the brother he had grown up with. The other was the master who had raised him and treated him like a father. Tang Ye's face was drained of all color, and his heart was dripping with blood, struggling and tearing. Chapter 15-15. Tang Yi was naturally more worried about Tang Lang. Tang Lang had almost no chance of winning against his master. Tang Lang was forced to retreat step by his master and was in danger several times. Tang Yi could no longer stand by and watch. Sure enough, Tang Lang did not even last 10 moves. Seeing that Xiao Yi was about to attack Tang Lang, Tang Ye's expression changed. Just as he was about to retaliate, Tang Lang's body moved like a fish and barely dodged the attack. Then, Tang Lang stood 3 steps away from Xiao Yi and said with a smile, "Master, I'll let you have 10 moves. You have to be careful from now on." Bastard. Xiao Yi was enraged and attacked even more fiercely. However, this time, Tang Lang was not as he had been before, staying in a defensive position. Instead, he attacked fiercely. Everything about Tang Lang had been taught by Xiao Yi, so Xiao Yi knew him better than anyone else. However, Tang Lang also knew Xiao Yi quite well. Tang Yi was not lying when he said that Tang Lang's skills had improved. Moreover, in this short period of time, Tang Ye's skills had reached a level that surprised Xiao Yi. In the end, the two of them fought to a draw. After 100 moves, because Tang Lang was young, he was more energetic and gradually gained the upper hand. Finally, Tang Lang's fingers were like an eagle's claws as they went for Xiao Yi's throat. Tang Lang. Tang Yi suddenly attacked and barely managed to block Tang Lang's killer move. Xiao Yi's face was full of shock, as if he had not recovered from the fact that he had been defeated by his disciple. Seeing that Tang Yi had made his move, Tang Lang did not continue. Instead, he looked at Xiao Yi with an unprecedentedly cold gaze and said, "Master, this time, I have repaid you for raising me. Next time, I will not show any mercy." With that, he turned and left. Xiao Yi's knuckles cracked. This evil creature. He had long known that Tang Lang was extremely talented, but was too lazy. If he had even a tenth of Tang Ye's effort, it would only be a matter of time before he surpassed him. Although he had known this for a long time, Tang Lang's terrifying speed of improvement still shocked him. At the same time, this was also the reason why he was so anxious to get rid of Tang Lang as soon as possible. However, the situation was getting more and more troublesome. Tang Yi couldn't kill him, and because of Lu Tingxiao's interference, the other people he had sent to deal with him had failed time and time again. Forget it. It's just an insignificant fish. There's no rush. The most important thing now is still the Lu clan. In the president's office of Lu Enterprises, Lu Jingli immediately reported to Lu Tingxiao as soon as he found out what had happened. "Brother, I've looked into it. The falling camera was an accident." Lu Tingxiao didn't let Lu Jingli leave. Instead, he said, "Video call." At that time, it wasn't just this camera that was accidentally dropped, so there were other cameras that recorded the whole incident. Lu Jingli must have seen it. Lu Jingli looked troubled. He coughed lightly and said, "Brother, I've checked. There's no mistake. There's no need to watch the video, right?" Lu Tingxiao didn't say anything. Instead, he raised his head and looked at Lu Jingli. Lu Jingli was frightened by his brother's sharp eyes that seemed to be able to see through his heart, but he still refused to hand it over. "Brother, really? Don't you believe in my ability?" Chapter 15-16. However, the more Lu Jingli refused, the more it proved that there was a problem. After Lu Jingli refused to hand over the video again, Lu Tingxiao didn't speak again, but looked at the computer on the table again. Lu Jingli thought that he had deceived him, but he didn't expect to hear a familiar voice coming from Lu Tingxiao's computer. "There's no need to talk about morality with the siren. Let's go together," the voice of the extras said. "Ah, Ning Shi," the voice of the crew. "Yun Xin," Ning Shi exclaimed. Lu Jingli's eyes almost popped out, and he moved closer to Lu Tingxiao's computer screen. Sure enough, the video that was supposed to be lying in his mailbox had been played on Lu Tingxiao's computer. "Fuck, brother, how dare you hack my computer? How can you do this?" Lu Tingxiao glanced at him lightly, as if saying, "Do I need to hack your computer to deal with you?" Therefore, in the next second, Lu Jingli saw clearly that his brother had logged into his mailbox openly. "What the fuck? Brother, how did you know my mailbox password?" The video on the computer was still playing, and at this moment, Lu Jingli finally couldn't stop it. Then he watched his brother see little Cece's extremely nervous attitude towards Yinshin in the video, Ahem, brother, it's actually nothing. After all, that guy was injured because of little Cece. It's normal for little Cece to be nervous. Lu Jingli's comforting words were a bit embarrassing. Since it's nothing, why were you so nervous just now? Why didn't you show it to your brother? Lu Tingxiao looked at the picture in the video quietly, his expression unfathomable, not revealing his master's emotions at all. Ningxi was nervous because things started because of her, because of Yunshin's illness and rare blood type, and because he was the person who accompanied her in her darkest time. Even if he gave her darkness, he let her live. Ningxi was nervous because Yunshin was nervous. Although he met her before he went to Yunshin, he missed the most important time of her life. Even if there were many reasons, he had to admit that the man's position in her heart was irreplaceable. After Ningxi left the hospital, she began to meaningfully reply to the phone calls from all parties. Because of this accident, the whole crew was in an uproar. Guo Qixing and the producer were almost crazy. After receiving Ningxi's call and knowing that Yunshin was fine, they were finally relieved. Then Ningxi went to discuss with the crew how to solve some follow-up problems. Because the situation was urgent at that time, when she and Jiang Mai sent Yunshin to the hospital, some passers-by took photos and posted them on the internet. However, as long as Yunshin was fine, this wasn't a big problem. The crew could deal with it. The next day, Ningxi went to the crew as usual. Because yesterday's accident happened the moment they finished filming, the last scene in Deep Clouds had already passed, so there was no need to reshoot. For the next few days, most of the scenes were with her and Meng Shi. In the end, she waited from morning until noon. Finally, she was told that Meng Shi had something to do and wouldn't be coming for the next few days. Guo Qixing had originally planned to finish filming the last few scenes in one go, but he didn't think that Meng Shi would drop the ball at this time. He could only helplessly call a halt and let everyone go back to rest. Ningxi held the car key in one hand and walked to the underground parking lot. After a moment of hesitation, she decided to go to the hospital to see that guy first, and then to Zhe Ling. At night, she would go to Lu Tingxiao's place to make more supplements for Lu Tingxiao. Don't move. Ningxi was planning what she was going to do today when she heard a hoarse and gloomy warning. At the same time, a cold and hard tube-shaped object suddenly pressed against her waist. Chapter 15-17. She couldn't be more familiar with this feeling. Turn around and put your hands up, the man scolded coldly. Ningxi raised her hand cooperatively and looked behind her. She saw a big, fierce-looking man in a black singlet pointing a gun at her fiercely. There was another person next to him who was also pointing a gun at her warily. He lowered his voice and urged, "Get in." Ningxi glanced at the white van next to her. There were two more people in the van, and both of them had guns in their hands. They were definitely not ordinary kidnappers. After considering the situation, Ningxi knew that she definitely couldn't escape. She obediently cooperated and waited for the opportunity to escape. Under the forceful push, Ningxi's pink crystal hair clip accidentally fell to the ground. It was a gift from Xiaobao on her birthday. Ningxi's gaze tightened. She was about to turn around to pick it up when the fierce-looking man stepped on it, and the hair clip instantly shattered. "What are you waiting for? Do you want to die?" The fierce-looking man pushed Ningxi into the van like a sack. Ningxi took a deep breath and hid the murderous intent in her eyes. As soon as she got in the van, she was immediately tied up. However, they didn't blindfold her. This made Ningxi frown slightly. If they didn't blindfold her, didn't that mean they wouldn't leave anyone alive? "Who are you?" Ningxi quietly sized up the four people in the van and probed. The driver who was driving had a knife scar across his entire face. The blonde in the front passenger seat had a cigarette in his mouth. On her left was the fierce-looking man, and on her right was a tall and skinny man. Ningxi took a quick look at these people. They were all well-built and looked like they had been training for a long time. However, they weren't mercenaries at Feng Xiaoxiao's level, so she could eliminate the possibility that they were Feng Jin's men. Of course, these people were definitely not ordinary kidnappers or hooligans. They were probably gangsters with a strong background, people who want your life. The fierce-looking man played with the gun in his hand and said with a sinister expression, The blonde in the front passenger seat rubbed his hands excitedly and turned his head. Let me have a good time before you die. The fierce-looking man glared at the blonde. It's only your turn if the boss doesn't want it. Such a high-quality product. How could the boss not want it? Don't talk nonsense. I haven't even said anything yet. Why are you so anxious? Yes. I'll just follow your bosses and pick up some scraps. The yellow hair chuckled as he stared at Ningxi. The woman in the back seat had skin as white as snow. She had an exquisite little face that was breathtakingly beautiful. She was wearing a light pink dress that made her look extremely fresh and lovely. It's no wonder our first miss wants to get rid of such a vixen, Blondie muttered. Hearing this, Ningxi finally knew who this person was. Mengxi? Seeing that she seemed to have guessed it. The ferocious man didn't care at all. She was going to die anyway, so it didn't matter whether she knew or not. Those people were quite vigilant. Perhaps they knew that she had some skills. Even in the car, they did not forget to point their guns at her. Along the way, Ningxi was very peaceful, leisurely closing her eyes to rest. She was quite curious. This Mengxi's legendary background. What was it? The car swayed for a long time before it finally stopped. Chapter 15:18. The door opened, and Ningxi was pushed out. What came into view was a building that looked like a Taoist hall. In front of the door was a large flag with the word Qing on it. Ningxi raised her eyebrows slightly. TSK? Qing Xiangang? So that's it. This Mengxi actually had the Qing Xiangang behind her. That Blondie called her miss just now. Was she the daughter of Meng Zhenwan, the leader of the Qing Xiangang? No wonder they were so unscrupulous. They dared to send people to kidnap her in broad daylight, and even wanted to kill her. There were countless gangs in the Hua Nation. Apart from the Black Tiger Gang in Province D, the most famous and powerful gang was the Qing Xiangang. It didn't have the most members, but it was the most influential. After all, it controlled the underground world of the capital and the surrounding provinces and cities. Ningxi thought to herself as she followed them through the training hall and into the depths. Probably because they had reached their base camp, they were obviously much more relaxed. They must have thought that she wouldn't be able to escape here even if she had wings. Ningxi looked around. This place wasn't too big, and the people were scattered. It should be just a small branch. Of course, for Mengxi, it was more than enough to send a small leader to kill a person. Boss, the person Miss wants is here. The fat man forcefully pulled Ningxi in front of a person. In the middle of the hall, there was a large mahogany chair. The chair was covered with a piece of good quality tiger skin. A man with a stocky back and a bear's waist was sitting on the chair, hugging women on his left and right. Seeing that Ningxi had been brought over, the man pushed aside two sexy beauties in revealing clothes and walked up to Ningxi with interest. You're the one who doesn't want to live. How dare you mess with our miss? Ningxi didn't say anything. She shrunk back and pretended to be scared. In fact, she was looking around quickly. When her eyes fell on an object in a metal box not far away, Ningxi's eyes lit up. She seemed to have found something fun. I'm asking you a question. Aren't you supposed to be quite capable? Why are you mute now? The branch boss looked at the girl's weak and trembling appearance, and his eyes shone with a lascivious light. He barely restrained himself and asked his subordinate, what did eldest miss say? The ferocious-looking man walked up to them and sneered. Young mistress wants us to shoot a few exciting films for her, and then she'll let us play with her until she dies. Huh? Just what I wanted. The boss immediately laughed out loud. He was probably used to doing this kind of thing. Soon someone actually moved the filming equipment over. Boss, you first. You first. Let us all learn from your majesty. Blondie eagerly flattered. Because Ningxi seemed to be completely softened, no one around her guarded against her. Only the boss took off his shirt and couldn't wait to walk towards her now. When everyone let down their guard, she dared to break the hair-clipped xiaobao gave her. You want to play? I'll play you to death. The moment the man pounced on her, Ningxi put her hand behind his waist and felt his gun. Then she quickly pressed it against the man's forehead. Before anyone could react, Ningxi pulled him to the metal box she had noticed just now. She took out a miniature instrument from the box and stuffed it into his mouth, forcing him to swallow it. Chapter 1519. In the blink of an eye, all of this happened in just 3 seconds. The blonde who kept sucking up to her, the tall and skinny guy who was filming with his phone, and the ferocious man with gleaming eyes, all the subordinates who were holding the equipment, were all stunned like stones. After Ning, she stuffed the miniature device into the man's stomach. She ignored him and pushed him away like she was throwing away rubbish. Then, she walked slowly to the tiger leather chair that the tattooed boss was sitting on. She crossed her legs casually and lazily swept her eyes across everyone below. Fuck! This bitch! Catch her! At this time, the subordinates who were in a daze finally came back to their senses and ran towards her, clamoring. Ningxi leisurely watched them pounce on her. Amidst the roars of the crowd, she raised her fair hand and pinched a bright red switch-like device between her fingertips. All of you, come back! Come back! Behind her, the tattooed boss howled at the top of his lungs. Then, he threw himself at Ningxi's feet. Don't touch it! It's dangerous, dangerous! The boss cried as he dug his throat, trying to spit out what he had swallowed. Unfortunately, once the device entered his stomach, it was as if it had taken root inside. He could not get it out no matter how hard he tried at this time. When the others saw the switch in Ningxi's hand, they were all horrified and subconsciously took a step back. What the man had swallowed was a miniature bomb. After entering his stomach, it would automatically adhere to the stomach wall. Although it was small in size, as long as the switch was pressed, it was enough to blow a person into pieces. And now, the button that controlled his life and death was held in the hands of the woman in front of him. The woman was wearing a cute and pretty pink dress. She was clearly the same person, but at this moment, she gave off a completely different feeling. Her expression was not scary, and even the corners of her mouth curled up with a faint smile, but it made him feel as if he had seen a demon. Also, the entire process from her snatching the gun to forcing him to swallow the bomb. Although he was only a branch leader, he still had some eyesight. Her skills were not that of an ordinary person. Even if she had done some martial arts before and had some foundation, it was absolutely impossible for her to do this, especially the way this woman held the gun. One look, and he knew that she was an expert. And she actually knew this new type of firearm like the back of her hand. How would an ordinary person know that it was a bomb? Damn it, who exactly did they offend? The boss had no time to think. He stared at the detonator in the woman's hand and begged for mercy without caring about his image. Big sister, Ningxi narrowed her eyes. Huh, what did you call me? Big? No. Great aunt. I had eyes but failed to recognize Mount Tai. I beg you to be merciful. You really can't play with that thing. Ningxi rolled her eyes and kicked away a yellow-haired man who tried to steal the button in her hand. Hey boss, it seems that someone wants you to die early. Bastard, you're courting death. Nobody move. The boss roared and kicked the yellow-haired man who had been kicked by Ningxi again. Then she looked at Ningxi cautiously. Gran, and I was wrong. I really know I was wrong. I'll send you out now, okay? Ningxi turned the detonator in the boss's horrified eyes and chuckled. Send me out? Yes. Chapter 1520. Who said I'm leaving? The man was dumbfounded. The others also looked at each other. Then what do you want? Wait until I'm done. Ningxi looked as if she wanted to stay and settle down here, which made everyone's faces darken. Ningxi pointed at the armrest of the mahogany chair and said, Each of you, eat ones. Then she added, Women don't need it. What? Everyone was shocked. The two girls who were serving the boss just now heaved a sigh of relief. That's not necessary. The tall and thin guy stepped back. The ferocious guy coughed. This is our boss. His life is in your hands. How dare we touch him? Ningxi curled her lips. What if one of you wants him to die and usurp the throne? The boss immediately jumped up and slapped each of them. Eat! Pa! Eat all of them. I'll eat all of them. Can't you eat all of them? Huh? Hurry. Do you want to rebel? The ferocious guy said bitterly. If we eat all of them, you won't be able to tell who is who. Each bomb had a corresponding number. Ningxi could choose the number of the bomb with the detonator in her hand. But if everyone ate it, she wouldn't be able to tell which number was which. Ningxi pondered and blinked under everyone's expectant gaze. Then she said, "Then I'll press the switch, and everyone will detonate it together." Everyone. Damn. Devil. She was simply a she-devil. They were like fish on the chopping block. Ningxi held their boss's life in her hand. Everyone had no choice but to eat a bomb. "Madam, are you satisfied now?" The boss rubbed his hands and asked carefully. Ningxi turned the detonator in her hand with a bored expression. Boring. These 3 words were like a death-hastening talisman, scaring everyone to the point that their souls almost left their bodies. The boss asked, "What do you like then? What do you want to play? Should I get it for you? Will you be willing to leave if you have fun?" The most important thing now was to pacify this little devil. Otherwise, she would be torn to pieces on the spot. "We'll see." At this moment, the blondie approached the boss and the others who were discussing. I have an idea." "What idea?" Boss looked at him unhappily. The blondie whispered into his ear, "Boss, call Hua Hua and ask her to send a few fresh meats over. Will this work?" The boss and the muscular man looked at him doubtfully. The blondie quickly said, "It might be useful. Women nowadays like this kind of thing." The boss pondered for a moment and immediately walked to a corner to make a phone call with the mentality of making a Hail Mary attempt. A moment later, a row of 10 handsome, seductive little fresh meats who had been trained to be extremely obedient stood in front of Ningxi. The boss rubbed his hands and asked nervously, "Grant, do you like any of these? You can play however you like." They were all trained. They are all very good at serving people. Ningxi sat on the tiger skin chair like a mountain king. Her gaze swept across the men on the ground, and she frowned. Her taste had long been trained by Lu Tingxiao. How could she like these? Seeing Ningxi frown, the boss broke out in a cold sweat. He quickly got his men to chase them away, and then kicked the blondie. "What kind of lousy idea is this?" The blondie cried out and said with a long face, "This doesn't make sense. Even this doesn't work. This batch is already the best. Could it be that this Grand doesn't like this kind of stuff? Why don't we try another woman?" Chapter 15:21. How about we try another woman? The moment the blonde finished his words, his boss kicked him hard. "Fuck off. Don't drag me down if you want to die." The blonde wailed and held his head. No, it's not like that, boss. It's really possible. Didn't you see that she made all of us swallow the bomb? But not those 2 girls. She was indifferent to so many fresh meat and even showed a look of disgust. She definitely doesn't like men. The chubby guy touched his chin. "Come on, boss. This guy seems to have a point this time." The boss gritted his teeth. What the hell? How could such a beautiful woman like women if she didn't like men? He wouldn't believe it. "Boss, let's give it a try. We'll all die anyway." The blonde muttered. The boss didn't think it was a good idea, so he didn't use it. At this moment, the female devil was bored and looking for someone to play shooting games with. Naturally, her subordinates eagerly moved the targets over to satisfy all of her requests. Ningxi twirled the gun in her hand and glanced at the crowd with a smile. "It's boring to play like this. Let's do something? It's best of 3, and I'll let the one who beats me go." As soon as these words came out, the crowd went into an uproar. Everyone who had just found a chance of survival looked over with glowing eyes. "Really? As long as I beat you, I can go. What if you go back on your word?" Someone asked weakly. Ningxi squinted at the man. "I'm not going to do anything. Believe it or not." Everyone looked like they were about to cry. The blonde rolled his eyes and ran over. "Then I'll go first. I'll go first. I believe you'll keep your word." Ningxi waved her hand casually. "Go ahead." The blonde quickly took out his gun, took a deep breath, and aimed at the target. At the same time, the surrounding bosses and henchmen all looked at the blonde nervously. They all knew that the blonde was good at shooting. Otherwise, he wouldn't have jumped out in such a hurry. Madam, I'll start. Cut the crap. Yes, yes, yes. The blonde finally pulled the trigger and fired a shot. 92, shouted the tall, thin man who was keeping score. Bang! The second shot, 95 points. Bang! The third shot, 10 points. Oh, oh, oh. Amazing. The onlookers cheered. This brat is too treacherous. He actually ran away by himself and abandoned us. In the midst of the noise, bang, 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 bang sounded 3 times in succession. Ningxi shot 3 times. All 3 shots hit the bullseye. Everyone was dumbfounded. Go on, Ning, she said expressionlessly. This can't be real. After a long while, someone finally spoke in a daze. Following that, because they were unwilling to give up, there were people who went to challenge him one after another. In the end, all of them were beaten to the point of pissing their pants. Finally, Ningxi ran out of patience. She said to another challenger, Now, the loser will announce his number. As soon as these words came out, cries of distress filled the air. Mother! The she-devil was about to start a massacre. Finally, the tattooed boss could no longer sit still. If she continued to play like this, everyone would die. Chapter 1522. Madam, what do we have to do for you to leave? Name a price. Can we pay for our lives? Someone tried to sound her out. Oh, 100 million each then. Ning, she said casually. Damn, this was daylight robbery. This was too ruthless. Everyone. Let's just choose death. It was really easy to invite a god in, but it was hard to send him away. They had thought of all the ways they could think of, but the other party refused to leave. The boss had no choice but to glare at the blondie beside him. I'll trust you one more time. If you fail, I won't have to wait for that ancestor above to make a move. I'll kill you myself. With that said, he dialed another number. Hello? No. I don't want a man. I want a girl this time. Nonsense. Of course, I want a pretty one. Clean up, quick. Madam, spare me. Madam, spare me. One of the underlings who failed the challenge was so scared that his legs turned to jelly and he knelt on the ground. The others were also trembling. Perhaps they would be next. Just as Ningxi was about to speak, a group of young ladies walked in. The 10 girls didn't look very old. They looked to be around 19 or 20 years old, which was the age where water could be squeezed out of them. Unlike the 2 sexy beauties from before, these girls seemed to be from good families. Their clothes were quite normal, and most importantly, each of them was more beautiful and cute than the other. At this moment, they were standing below with their heads lowered like frightened little animals. They're quite smart. Ningxi looked at the group of delightful young ladies and felt much better. She generously waved at the man who kept begging for mercy and said, Forget it, don't blow up and scare the girls. This meant that she was going to spare him. Happiness came too suddenly. The underlings couldn't believe it. They hurriedly thanked her profusely and ran away. As for the boss, it actually worked, and the effect was remarkable. After a while, the 10 girls, who were originally afraid, looked at Ningxi with sparkling eyes. From time to time, their cheeks would turn red and they would tremble. Some of them were even jealous of Ningxi. One by one, they would rush to pour wine and fruits for her and massage her shoulders and legs. The boss, the yellow-haired guy, bit his finger and looked at Ningxi's gentle attitude towards the girls enviously. Oh, why am I not a girl? Another minion muttered. If I tell that lady that I'm actually a woman, but I change my sex, will she believe me? Another was even more ruthless. Is it too late for me to castrate myself now? Losing my manhood was better than losing my life. Everyone. At this moment, Ningxi still didn't know that the outside world was about to be turned upside down. Capital First People's Hospital. Feng Xiaoxiao had an apple in her hand and was carving a rabbit on it. Phew. It's finally done. Boss, please enjoy. Feng Xiaoxiao eagerly handed the apple over. She was always in a rush, so when had she ever done such meticulous work? It was simply asking for her life. The man on the bed kept looking at the door as if he was waiting impatiently for someone. He looked absent-minded and unhappy. When he saw the apple in Feng Xiaoxiao's hand, he commented, "Ugly." Chapter 15:23. Feng Xiaoxiao was speechless. She was heartbroken. How could he say the word ugly to a girl? Even if it was an apple she peeled. Fuck, I worked so hard to carve it. How is it ugly? It's so cute. Who peeled this apple? Feng Xiaoxiao saw an apple that had turned yellow from being left for too long. The carving on this apple is exquisite. Oh no, it's a work of art. But I don't see you eating it. The man looked at Feng Xiaoxiao with a frosty expression. Feng Xiaoxiao hugged the apple and took a step back, looking innocent. What did I say wrong? The door was pushed open, and Tang Yi walked in. Junior's sister was kidnapped by the Qing Xian gang. Yun Shun and Feng Xiaoxiao's expressions changed at the same time. However, Feng Xiaoxiao calmed down quickly. TSK, TSK, TSK. My woman's intuition was right. I knew that Meng Shi wouldn't be able to hold back. But Junior's sister will be fine. Boss, you've already spread the word on the streets. There won't be anyone who's blind enough to touch Junior's sister, unless it's those small fries who can't get in touch with the core and don't know about your ban. Junior's sister can deal with those guys herself. Feng Xiaoxiao's speculation was right. Even if Meng Shi was the young mistress of the Qing Xian gang, she couldn't mobilize the core departments with just a word. At most, it would be a small branch. However, the man's expression didn't relax at all. Instead, he looked extremely grim. He got off the bed and glared at Feng Xiaoxiao. Fine? Of course she would be fine if it was a year ago. But now, Lu Tingxiao has raised her into a cripple. Feng Xiaoxiao. Ugh. So, what if she's raised into a cripple? How many women want to be pampered into a cripple? How unromantic. No wonder he can't find a girlfriend. Okay, you can just admit that you're worried about Junior's sister. Tang Yi frowned when he saw the man get off the bed and put on his jacket. He stood in front of the man and said, "Satan, your wound hasn't healed completely. Don't get off the bed." Feng Xiaoxiao chimed in, "That's right. I think Lu Tingxiao has already gone over. We don't have to join in the fun." Tang Yi pinched the space between his brows and looked at Feng Xiaoxiao speechlessly. Feng Xiaoxiao was confused. What did I say wrong? Because Feng Xiaoxiao had no control over her words, Tang Yi knew that it was useless no matter how much he tried to persuade her. He could only watch as Yunshin got off the bed. He gathered 20 elites and personally led them to the Imperial Suburbs branch of the Qing Xian sect. Yunshin's personal team of 20 elites was more than enough to wipe out 10 branches, not to mention Tang Yi and Feng Xiaoxiao, two great killing machines. When the group of people arrived at the place where Ningxi was tied up, they bumped into Lu Tingxiao's men. Feng Xiaoxiao looked at the iceberg, then at his own boss, and clicked his tongue. This is a rare sight. This Azure Mystic sect is so proud to have two of them come to slaughter their sect. This should be recorded in the history of the sect. Behind Lu Tingxiao, Shi Xiao had a bitter expression on his face. Although he was Ningxi's bodyguard now, he really didn't play much of a role. In order to avoid being accused of acting arrogantly, he could only follow Ningxi closely when she participated in activities with more people. Chapter 15:24. However, he couldn't follow Ningxi when she was filming. He could only guard her in the car or in the dark. Moreover, the lady boss was very powerful. He had nothing to do every day and didn't even have a chance to perform. After all, Xiongji was sent by the lady boss to protect her cousin. Just as he was feeling regretful, something really happened to the lady boss. She didn't show up for a long time after she finished work. When he realized that something was wrong, he quickly found out that the lady boss was kidnapped. He was going to rescue her by himself to make a contribution, but he didn't expect that. Boss already knew about it and went to rescue her personally. If it wasn't enough, what were those people doing? Shi Xiao felt that he couldn't just sit around and wait for death. Otherwise, he wouldn't be able to make a contribution. Thus, he took the initiative and said, "Boss, I'll go check out the situation." Wait. Lu Tingxiao stopped Shi Xiao's request and looked sharply in the direction of the training hall's entrance. At the same time, Yunshin was also staring at the tightly shut door. His cold and gloomy eyes made everyone quiet out of fear. Tang Yi frowned and said, I'm afraid the situation has changed. Tell everyone to be careful. Feng Xiaoxiao couldn't help but be vigilant. Something's wrong indeed. Why isn't there anyone guarding the door? It's so quiet. Where are the people here? Are they sure that little junior sister has been brought here? Damn it. Could something have happened to little junior sister? How dare the Qing Xin gang? In the hall deep inside the training hall, a certain boss was pouring wine for Ning Shi personally. It was a fine wine that he had kept for many years and couldn't bear to waste a single drop. Money Beauty's wine? He had used all kinds of tricks, but the woman on the tiger skin chair had her legs crossed and didn't seem to have any intention of leaving. The worst thing was that apart from being gentle to the girls, this woman was cruel to the men. She had so many tricks up her sleeve that they were about to be killed by her. The ferocious man who was searching for ways to please a woman on the internet came up to his boss with a sad face. Why isn't she leaving? How am I supposed to know? At this moment, a lackey ran over panting and hurriedly went up to his boss. Boss! Outside, outside. What's going on outside? The boss scolded impatiently. Someone's coming. A lot of people. I think they're here to save this woman. Is that true? The boss's eyes lit up at once, and then several backbone members of the gang were anxious. While Ning Shi was being coaxed by the girl, they hurriedly and stealthily walked towards the door. At the door, when everyone was anxiously investigating the situation and discussing countermeasures due to the strange situation, creak. The door of the dojo was suddenly opened from the inside. In an instant, everyone on both sides of Lu Tingxiao and Yun Xin aimed their weapons at the gate. The leader hurriedly raised his hands. Don't get excited. May I ask if you are here to save to save Miss Ning? They only dared to stand at the door and did not dare to go out, because if they went beyond a certain distance, Ning Shi's detonator would sound an alarm. If you know, then hurry up and release him, Shi Xiao shouted. When the boss heard this, he immediately knelt on the ground and cried tears of joy. That's great. That was great. You're finally here. The group of people behind the boss all had joyous expressions on their faces. Then, all of them excitedly opened the door and welcomed the people outside with joy. Please come in, please come in, please come in. Lu Tingxiao, Yun Shun, Tang Yi, Feng Xiaoxiao. Why did they feel that these people were so happy? They were so happy that they could even do a folk song with a red cloth. Chapter 1525. Feng Xiaoxiao's lips twitched. Am I hallucinating? Why do I feel like these people are so happy? Could it be a new scheme that she didn't know about? The boss of the branch cried for a long time before he finally got up. He had an expectant expression on his face, as if he was afraid that they would leave. Esteemed guests, please forgive me for not being able to welcome you from afar. Please come in. Please come in. What did he mean by not being able to welcome them from afar? Things were getting weirder and weirder. Of course, they wouldn't be afraid even if they had a scheme against such a brutal team. Yunxin and Lu Tingxiao exchanged a rare glance and exchanged opinions. Then they gave the order to enter at the same time. This way, please. The boss personally led the way with tears of excitement in his eyes. A few of the core members beside him rushed into the hall happily. Soon after, many people ran out from inside, and all of them looked at them as if they had seen angels. Their expressions were also filled with joy. Some even muttered, Great, great. Someone's finally here to save us. What the hell? Yunxin and Lu Tingxiao walked side by side in front. Feng Xiaoxiao, Tang Yi, Shi Xiao, and a group of elites followed behind them. They walked into the innermost hall. The more illogical the situation was, the more alert they were. The instant they were a few steps away from the hall, they entered a level 1 defensive state and tensed their nerves. Then, Lu Tingxiao and Yunxin saw from afar a certain someone who they had been so worried about sitting cross-legged on a large chair made of tiger skin. She was surrounded by a large group of beautiful girls. One was massaging her shoulders, one was massaging her back, one was pouring wine, one was fanning her. The rest were playing the piano and dancing. The men were performing a series of acrobatics, such as shooting apples from the top of their heads and smashing rocks from their chests. There was even someone holding a clapboard and doing crosstalk. How was this a kidnapper? This was simply a mountain king who occupied a mountain and made himself the king. Everyone at the entrance, including Lu Tingxiao and Yunshin. The boss panicked when he saw that they weren't moving. He hurriedly said, "Big bosses, please take Miss Ning away. We really didn't hurt her. She's been hurting us all along." We had eyes but failed to recognize Mount Tai. We knew we were in the wrong. The first thing we did was to ask Miss Ning to leave, but Miss Ning refused to leave. We tried everything, but it was useless. We really had no other choice. "Hurry up and take this demoness away." The others wiped their tears and echoed their boss's words. We were just following orders to make a living, and we really didn't even touch a hair on Miss Ning. "I haven't gotten married yet. I will definitely turn over a new leaf in the future." There was no need to mention how sorrowful the group of men were crying. Those who heard it were sad, and those who heard it were crying. Actually, they couldn't be blamed. Ning Shi's way of tormenting people was too cruel, especially when it came to psychological warfare. The area of their psychological trauma was already immeasurable. Feng Xiaoxiao, so pitiful. In the hall, the others also noticed the abnormality at the door and looked towards the direction of the door. Ning Shi also raised her head. Inadvertently looking up, she suddenly spat out a mouthful of wine. "Fuck me." Chapter 15:26. Sweetheart, and the one surnamed Yin? Why are they here? And why are they here at the same time? Also, what was the epic rank lineup with the vast and majestic crowd behind them? Ningxi swallowed hard. She seemed to have gone too far? You're quite carefree, huh? Yunshin put on a fake smile and looked at the person who was sitting on the tiger skin chair and acting like a king. His eyes were almost murderous. She ignored Yunshin. She immediately threw the wine glass in her hand and quickly ran in Lu Tingxiao's direction. Behind him, a certain boss flew over to catch the wine glass. Ow! This glass was an antique. It was very expensive. "Sweetheart." Ningxi plunged into Lu Tingxiao's arms like a swallow flying into the woods, looking as if she had been greatly wronged. Sob, sob, sob. They bullied me. With a clang, the wine glass in the boss's hand fell to the ground with a harsh sound. Not only him, but all the minions next to him looked at Ningxi as if they had seen a ghost. "Damn! You can't do this! You can't be so shameless! No! We didn't... We're innocent. Sir, we're innocent. How dare we bully you? You two are wise. You must stand up for us." Suddenly, there were wails in the hall. Their expressions were much more aggrieved than Ningxi's. They probably knew that Yunshin and Lu Tingxiao were the leaders and were asking them to stand up for them. The scene was very chaotic. Yunshin, Lu Tingxiao. Lu Tingxiao looked at the girl in his arms helplessly. "What's going on?" Ningxi sobbed and looked up at him. "My hair clip was broken by them." "What nonsense?" Yunshin looked at Ning, she clinging to Lu Tingxiao's arms, and felt a little annoyed. Ningxi glared at him. "You're the one who's nonsense. It's a gift from my son on my birthday. It's very important, but they trampled it to pieces." Yunshin, all the people in the hall. Damn it, are you kidding me? She had caused them so much trouble just because she had broken her hair clip. The boss took a deep breath and looked at the men who had kidnapped Ningxi. Who trampled on Miss Ning's hair clip? The yellow-haired man, the tall and skinny man, and the scarred driver all looked innocent. The fierce-looking man trembled and mumbled helplessly, "I think it was me, but I was careless. Is this it?" At this time, Shi Xiao took out a broken pink hair clip from his pocket. He finally had a chance to perform, but it wasn't to charge and break through enemy lines. Instead, he accidentally picked up a hair clip. "This is it." Ningxi hurriedly took it. The killing intent in her eyes began to rise again. A certain boss was afraid that this lady would flip out again, so he immediately went over and gave the fierce-looking man a good kick. "Who asked you to kick me? Your feet are cheap. You don't even know how to tie someone up. Why did you step on a little girl's hair clip for no reason? Are you crazy?" Ferocious man. "Who's the one with the problem here?" Yes. I'm crazy. It's all my fault." Lu Tingxiao looked at the girl's sad face and rubbed her hair. It's okay. It can be fixed. I'll fix it for you when we get back. Chapter 15:27. Ningxi nodded obediently. Her colleagues heaved a sigh of relief. They had dodged a bullet. However, at this moment, Yun Shun's voice rang in their ears. What's wrong with these women? Fuck. Why did he have to mention it? Ningxi was so angry that she almost wanted to kill someone. She immediately replied, It's none of your business. My sweetheart didn't say anything. You. Tang Yi coughed lightly and reminded her helplessly. He's injured. Little Junior's sister. Please be merciful. What's wrong with these girls? This time, it was Lu Tingxiao who asked the question. It was rare for Lu Tingxiao to stand on the same side as Yun Shun, which made Yun Shun look at him in surprise. This time, Ningxi wouldn't be able to fool him anymore, so she replied righteously, It's all because of these guys. They're too shameless. They actually tried to bribe me with their beauty. Seeing that the men couldn't do it, they changed to another woman. Do you think I'm the kind of person who can be bribed with beauty? Of course not. I just saw that these guys were so fierce, and I was afraid that the girls would be scared by them. So I chatted with them for a while to ease their fear. All the gang members. Who the hell was this fierce and fierce? Compared to her, they were simply obedient babies. Ningxi was still talking glibly when Yun Shun snorted coldly. Ease their fear? Does that include letting them sit on your lap? Ningxi. Fuck. You're slandering me. No one sat on my lap. If we didn't come, wouldn't we have sat on them? He had seen a girl secretly sticking to Ningxi. Even if you didn't come, I wouldn't have let them sit on my lap, okay? Do you think I'm as shameless as you? Ningxi was furious. The man looked at her sarcastically. We tried everything we could to save you, but you're having fun here. Do you think you're in the right? If we had come any later, you would have gotten yourself a wife. Fuck you, Lu Tingxiao sighed and interrupted their argument. Let's go. The gang members nodded their heads repeatedly. That's right. Hurry up and leave. The group of people retreated majestically, and all the gang members behind them sent them off with tears in their eyes. The only thing missing was the beating of gongs and drums at the door. Ningxi saw that Yun Shun's face was pale, and he covered his wound from time to time. She frowned and said, You haven't recovered yet. Why do you have to come here in person? Cloudheap's complexion darkened. What? Are you feeling sorry for your lover and afraid that I'll squeeze him dry? Ningxi. Screw you. Can't we have a proper conversation? Feng Xiaoxiao shook her head helplessly. Sigh, boss, your EQ. Junior's sister was clearly worried about you just now, so why are we here today? Feng Xiaoxiao waved her hands in confusion. Sure, Xiao. To save people? I'm here to save the kidnappers, no problem, late at night. The white-haired man's back was facing the huge French window. Take over the Qing Xian gang before dawn. It was just a short sentence, but it meant that there would be an unprecedented bloody storm in the underground world of the imperial capital tonight. Tang Yi nodded, yes. In a private room of a high-end club in the imperial capital. The private room was in a state of luxury. Everyone was enjoying themselves to their heart's content. However, at this moment, the door of the private room was suddenly kicked open with a bang. Chapter 15:28. A group of well-trained men dressed in black surrounded the entire room like Rakshasa. Where did you come from? How dare you spoil my mood? Do you want to die? The leader of the group spoke drunkenly. As soon as he finished speaking, a cold, black muzzle of a gun was pressed against his forehead. Submit or die. Who are you? Do you know who I am? I'm the boss of the White Tiger Hall of the Qing Xian gang. A muffled gunshot was heard. A bloody hole appeared in the man's forehead, and he fell to the ground with a thud. The gunshot was muffled, so it was not loud. However, the faces of everyone in the room were drained of color. Kill. Murder. Boss. Oh my God. How dare they kill Wang Hu? Who else has any objections? The man in black who fired the gun glanced coldly at everyone in the room. Everyone kept quiet out of fear. The black-clothed man next to him drew a line on a piece of white paper and crossed out the 3 words White Tiger Hall with a horizontal line next. At the same time, the same thing was happening in various places in the capital. The entire capital was shrouded in a thick haze in a luxurious manner halfway up the mountain. In the study, a man stumbled into the room. "Boss, bad news. Bad news." "Why are you so flustered? What are you doing?" "Just now, our branches in the capital were attacked by unknown people. Within an hour, 11 of our branches have been taken over." "What did you say?" Meng Jianwan was furious. "Who are they? How dare they?" "They're too fast. I haven't found out who they are yet. I only noticed that their clothes seem to have the letters on them." What?" Meng Jianwan's expression changed. "Did you see it clearly?" "I saw it clearly." "Boss, are they on Satan's side?" The subordinate shuddered as he spoke. He really couldn't think of a second person who could achieve this in such a short period of time and dare to do such a thing. Impossible. Meng Jianhuan immediately denied his subordinate's speculation. When that person first entered the imperial capital, he had already arranged to meet with him to find out his attitude. From the looks of it, the other party had no intention of interfering with the underground forces in the capital. In fact, he even told them not to be nervous and to do as they pleased. Why would he do such a thing without any warning? Then, could it be that we've offended someone recently? The subordinate was puzzled. "Wait, let me make a call." Meng Jianhuan muttered to himself as he searched for a number on his phone. However, no one picked up for a long time. The uneasiness in Meng Jianhuan's heart grew heavier, and he could only dial another number. This time it finally connected. "Hey, young Master Yi, I'm really sorry for disturbing you so late at night. My subordinates just reported that many of our branches have been attacked, and the attackers seem to have the emblem of your organization on them. It's Satan's order." A cold, emotionless voice came from the other end of the line. Meng Jianhuan didn't seem to be able to react to these words. His face suddenly turned pale. "Deutsch? What? Why would Satan do that? Last time, he clearly said he wouldn't. On this point, I suggest Mr. Meng to investigate the reason himself." After saying that, the person on the other end of the phone directly hung up. Chapter 15:29. After listening to Tang Ye's words, Meng Jianhuan was dumbfounded. What did she mean by investigating the cause? Was it because of his side? Did his people offend that person? How was that possible? Meng Jianhuan made a few more calls and finally found some clues. One of the gang leaders reminded him to go home and ask his daughter. Asked she? How would she know? Meng Jianhuan was even more confused, but he still called her over. "Dad, you called me? Why are you disturbing my beauty sleep in the middle of the night?" Meng Shi pouted coquettishly, her face impatient. "What have you been doing lately?" Meng Jianhuan asked in a low voice. "What else can I be doing? Filming, shopping, getting my beauty done. What else? Nothing else. Think about it." Meng Jianhuan slammed the table. Meng Shi was shocked. She looked at her father's pale face and finally regained her composure. "I didn't do anything. Why are you so mean to me? Did you offend anyone recently?" "Dad, what are you talking about? Who deserves the word offend?" Meng Shi said proudly. Meng Jianhuan's expression was ugly. He said sternly, "Satan's people are taking control of our gang. They're almost at our doorstep. Do you know that? Why aren't you thinking about what you did to make him unhappy? I've asked around, and he asked me to come back and ask you. And you're saying you didn't offend anyone?" Meng Shi's expression changed. "That's impossible. I'm just what?" Meng Jianhuan immediately sensed that something was wrong and asked cautiously. Meng Shi bit her lip and said guiltily, "I just taught a vixen who seduced Brother Shin a lesson." Meng Jianhuan slammed the table angrily. "That's most likely what happened. Where is he? Hurry up and let him go. He might still have a chance to live if he apologizes personally." While Meng Jianhuan was speaking, another 7 or 8 people came in one after another with blood all over their bodies. One branch after another was destroyed in an instant. "Boss, Green Dragon Hall can't hold on anymore?" "Boss, City C is under control too." "Boss, City D has rebelled." In the middle of the study, Meng Shi stared blankly at the people going in and out. as well as the room full of leaders asking her father what they should do. She felt like she was dreaming. Just a moment ago, she was still a spoiled young lady who could do whatever she wanted. How did she become a stray dog in the blink of an eye? Meng Jinwan didn't want to talk to his daughter anymore. He quickly found out what happened today and asked his men to bring in all the people who kidnapped Ning Shi. "Boss, I'm fine. I'm fine. That lady isn't scathed. He had already been rescued by someone. We were afraid that the eldest miss would blame us, so we didn't dare to tell the truth." The small person in charge of the branch answered with trepidation. He was just a person in charge of a small branch. This was the first time he had seen so many big shots, and his legs were trembling. Meng Jinhuan heaved a sigh of relief when he heard that the girl was fine. He then asked, "She was rescued? Who saved them?" "I don't know who they are. I've never seen any of them before, but I can tell that they're not to be trifled with." "Oh, right, there are two groups of people leading them. One of them is a little special, with white hair." "White hair?" Meng Jinhuan stood up immediately. Chapter 1530. Satan had personally gone to save her, which showed how important that woman was to him. And she had kidnapped that woman. Who was that woman? Meng Jinhuan asked. "A small-time artist called Ning Shi." Meng Jinhuan fell back into his chair, his last glimmer of hope dashed. "It's over, it's really over. Dad, she's just a small-time artist. She's been kidnapped. Besides, isn't she fine? Why are you so nervous?" I'll apologize to Brother Shun." Meng Jinhuan slapped Meng Shi's face. "Do you know who she is? She's Tang Shi, Tang Yi, and Feng Xiaoxiao's junior. The only woman by Yunshin's side. Not long ago, Yunshin forbade anyone from touching her. Didn't I warn you before that you can touch any woman around Yunshin except for her?" A certain small leader who had just been abused by Ning Shi to the point of crying for his parents today. Holy shit, that woman was the legendary Tang Shi. They didn't die in vain today. Meng Jinhuan never thought that he would be harmed by his own daughter. Meng Shi was in a panic. But how did I know she was Tang Shi? In fact, she was even more angry because of what her father said to her. In addition, the matter of Yunshin saving Ning Shi made her dizzy, so she ignored her father's warning and attacked Ning Shi. How could she know that she had caused such a big trouble? "Boss, the most important thing now is to think of a solution," one of his men reminded him. A sect that had been around for 100 years was about to collapse overnight. Everyone wore an expression of extreme fear. Meng Jinhuan looked dejected. If it was someone else, an apology might work, but now, I'm afraid it won't work even if I kill my own daughter. Meng Jinhuan paused, then said, "Go send someone to find Lu Tingxiao. The only one who can save us now is the Six Conglomerate." After all, the Azure Mystic Gang had controlled the capital and the surrounding underground kingdoms for a long time, and the Six Conglomerate was involved in many aspects. If the Azure Mystic Gang was destroyed, it meant that the capital would fall into the hands of other organizations, and the Six Conglomerate wouldn't sit idly by. "Yes, I'll go right now." The subordinate left in a hurry. Time ticked by, and the sun began to rise from the east. The subordinate who went to ask for help finally returned. "How is it? What did Mr. Six say?" Everyone's eyes fell on him. The person who asked for help had a defeated look on his face. Mr. Six, what's going on? Hurry up and tell me." Meng Jinhuan urged angrily. "I want to contact Mr. Six people," but they replied that, "Say what?" He said that we should be glad that it was Satan who did it, and not the Six Conglomerate. What is this? Everyone, including Meng Jinhuan, was dumbfounded. Why does the Six Clans want to deal with us? Exactly. Satan did it for a woman, but what about Lu Tingxiao? Amidst the quarrel, a weak voice rang out. It was the small leader from earlier. I just said that there were two groups of people who saved the girl, and the other group seems a bit like CEO Lu. What did you say? In that instant, everyone's eyes fell on the small leader in disbelief. The small leader shuddered. I didn't dare to believe it at first. I was afraid that I'd mistaken him for someone else, so I didn't dare to say anything. After all, I've never seen that person before. However, I've seen his bodyguard Xiao once. Today, I think I saw Shi Xiao following behind him. Chapter 1531. Shut up. You're talking nonsense. Meng Shi immediately scolded him. Yunxin and Lu Tingxiao went to save Tang Shi at the same time. Not only Meng Shi, but Meng Jianwan and the other leaders also thought it was incredible. The relationship between Yunxin and Lu Enterprises was complicated. Recently, they had been fighting each other from abroad to home. If they were armed to the teeth, wouldn't it be an earth-shattering fight? How could they go to save Tang Shi peacefully? Even if Tang Shi had quit the organization, she used to work for Yunxin. Lu Tingxiao must have known about it, and even suspected Tang Shi's motive for joining Shengshi Entertainment. Meng Jianwan looked at the leader seriously. Are you sure you didn't see it wrong? Meng Shi had been scolded by Meng Shi. Facing the suspicious eyes of the other leaders, the leader didn't dare to be so sure. So he said timidly, well, I'm not sure. Meng Shi nodded, took out her cell phone and said, this idiot must have seen it wrong. There must be some misunderstanding. I'm going to contact Lu Jingli. Meng Shi was in the entertainment circle, so it was normal for her to have Lu Jingli's cell phone number, and Lu Jingli was well aware of Meng Shi's real background. Meng Jianwan didn't stop his daughter. This whole thing was really weird. Even if he was going to die, he had to know the truth. After finding out Lu Jingli's cell phone number, Meng Shi turned on the speaker. The phone rang more than 10 times, and everyone's hearts were in their throats. Finally, a sleepy voice answered the call. Hello, Mr. Meng. I'm Meng Shi. Sorry to disturb you so late at night. It's urgent, so I'll tell you directly. Our gang was suddenly attacked by Yunxin tonight, and we hope to ask President Lu for help. I hope you can help us. Our Meng family has helped Lu Enterprises a lot over the years, and we've cooperated well with each other. I believe President Lu will help us. If President Lu has any misunderstanding about us, we can explain. Meng Shi quickly explained the situation. There was a moment of silence on the other end of the phone. Maybe it was because he had just woken up and was digesting Meng Shi's words. As time ticked by, everyone held their breath and stared at the phone. After a while, Lu Jingli's speechless voice came from the speaker. Are you idiots? You sent people to kidnap my sister-in-law, and you want my brother to help you? Why don't you go to heaven? Meng Shi, Meng Jianwan, the team leader and all the higher-ups. Second young master. What do you mean? Meng Shi was dumbfounded. I mean it literally. Little Cece is my brother's woman and my future sister-in-law. Do you understand? If it weren't for the fact that we've been friends for so many years, my brother would have done it himself long ago. How would it be anyone else's turn to perform? Lu Jingli mumbled as if he was worried about the other party's intelligence, and then hung up the phone. There was dead silence in the study. Everyone's mind was filled with Lu Jingli's words. Ningxi was his future sister-in-law, Lu Tingxiao's woman. Although this was too unbelievable, if that was the case, then everything could be explained at the same time. It also meant that the Qingxian sect was no longer able to turn the situation around because of the impulsiveness of their young mistress. It was completely over. Chapter 1532. Platinum Palace. Ningxi deeply reflected on how she didn't inform Lu Tingxiao in time, which made him worry, and how she almost sat on her lap. Also, what happened during the day inevitably made her a little worried. She looked at the people Yunxin brought over and was shocked. They were all the core forces of the organization. Usually, these people were scattered all over the world, but now they were all gathered in the capital. That guy with the surname Yin actually transferred all the elites to the country. What was he trying to do? She had a feeling that this guy wanted to do something big, and it was related to Lu Tingxiao. Fortunately, she knew that although Lu Tingxiao was a businessman, his secret forces were definitely not weak. Plus, this was Lu Tingxiao's territory, so neither side could do anything to the other. The next day, Little Steam Bun was currently focused on using special glue to glue the crystals onto the custom-made hairpin template. His little appearance was simply too adorable. Only the plastic part of the hairpin below the crystals was damaged. The crystals were still intact, so he just had to take the crystals off and stick them again. It was said that serious men were the most charming, but she felt that her little bun was the most charming. As expected of her son, he was so cute even when he was sticking something. Ningxi held her chin and looked at him happily. "Oh, sorry, baby. Mama will be careful next time and won't break it again." Little Bun stuck the last crystal, then pouted and blew on it. "Mama, it's okay. If you break it, little Treasure will help you fix it." Oh, her baby was so spoiled. After the glue dried, a pink heart-shaped hairpin was made exactly the same as before. Little Bun personally put it on Ningxi. "Mama looks so good." Lu Tingxiao had just come downstairs when he saw the warm and intimate scene between the mother and daughter. His cold expression became extremely gentle. "Sister-in-law, good news. Good news. Super good news." At this moment, Lu Jingli rushed in from outside the door. "What good news?" Ningxi turned around and asked. Lu Jingli held a large stack of unknown forms and said excitedly, "Sister-in-law, you were nominated for the Golden Palm Award for Best Actress," said Lu Tingxiao. Lu Jingli immediately looked sad. "Oh, brother, how can you do this? I'm already so fast. How did you know before me? Can't you let me show off a little?" Ningxi was stunned. "What?" Lu Jingli finally had a chance to speak. He immediately stuffed the form in his hand into Ningxi's and said, "Your Dream Seeker has been nominated for Best Actress at the Golden Palms." It was written in black and white. The shortlist will only be announced in about 3 days. Ningxi quickly scanned through the list and saw that Dream Seekers had indeed been nominated for Best Director and Best Actress at the same time. Moreover, she also saw another familiar movie, The World. The World was also nominated? Ningxi asked. Lu Jingli leaned over to take a look. "Ah, it looks like it. The World didn't catch up to last year's, so it was put on this year." "Oh my, you were also nominated for Best Supporting Actress in The World. I only noticed that you were nominated for Best Actress, but I didn't notice." Chapter 1533. When Ningxi saw the words Best Supporting Actress, she was as excited as when she saw that Dream Seeker was nominated for Best Actress. After all, The World was her first movie, and it had a special meaning to her. Being nominated for the Golden Palm Award, which was the most prestigious award in the country, was already an exciting affirmation for her, who was still a newcomer at that time. Then, she glanced at the next line and saw, "Oh my God! Ning Xiula was nominated for Best Actress with her terrible acting skills?" Lu Jingli exclaimed and muttered, "There must be something fishy going on, or she's just here to help." Ningxi finally finished reading all the lists and found that Ning Xiula had been nominated for Best Actress in 2 movies at the same time. One was The World, and the other was The Mountain. It seemed that Ning Xiula was ready to fight a comeback this time. 2 of them were nominated. Are the judges blind or something? Lu Jingli continued to complain. Ningxi touched her chin and analyzed. Ning Xiula's performance in The World was really good, so it's expected that she was nominated for Best Actress. Even now, many people said that Ning Xiula's performance in The World was the pinnacle of her acting career. However, they did not know that Ning Xiula's acting skills were largely forced by Ningxi. Later on, there was no sense of crisis, so naturally, she could not achieve this state again. Ningxi paused and continued. As for The Mountain, it was released at the same time as Dreamseeker. The box office was only a few million, but this movie was not aiming for the box office, but for the awards. The genre and theme are very suitable, and the character settings can also please the academic judges, so it's not surprising that it was nominated. No matter whether Ning Xiula had connections behind her or not, there should be no controversy about her 2 movies being nominated. However, Ningxi's Dreamseeker was once defined as a commercial melodrama, so it was really unexpected that it was nominated. Although her performance in The World was very good, the competition for Best Supporting Actress this time was very fierce. She saw several strong opponents, so it was still unknown whether she could win or not. Lu Jingli patted Ningxi on the shoulder. "Xiao Cici, according to my speculation, you still have a high chance of winning the award. After all, you have the ability." Lu Tingxiao said, "Do we even need to speculate? Lu Jingli was speechless. Yes, 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 there's no need to guess. Your wife is the best. Lu Tingxiao looked at Ning Shi and comforted her. Don't be nervous. The reason why the Golden Palm Award is so respected is not only because of its professionalism, but also because of its fairness. In the end, the only one who can win the award can only rely on his own strength. Even if someone did something to it, they would never be able to reach the final result. Ning Shi was really a little nervous. After all, it was the first time she had been nominated. But after hearing Lu Tingxiao's comforting words, she felt much better. Congratulations on being nominated, Mama. Little Baozi congratulated Ning Shi in a childish voice. She even wanted to get a bouquet of flowers. Compared to Little Bun, the bouquet was simply too huge. It covered his entire body. Lu Tingxiao took the bouquet from Little Bun, put it in Ning Shi's arms, and kissed her forehead. Congratulations. Looks like this father and son pair were already prepared. Lu Jingli was a loner, but he still pulled out a bunch of car keys from his pocket. This is the company's reward. I sent it to you in advance. Thank you. Ning Shi gently held the bouquet. At this moment, her heart was no longer worried about whether she could win the award or not. Instead, it was full of warmth. Chapter 1534. This scene overlapped with the scene when she got the role of Meng Chang'e. At that time, she didn't even have anyone to share the good news with. She was about to eat hot pot at home alone when Lu Tingxiao came to her door with Little Bun. Then the father and son congratulated her at the dinner table. What's wrong? Lu Tingxiao saw that Ning Shi was in a daze, so he stroked her hair and asked. Ning Shi smiled and shook her head. Nothing. I was just thinking about the first time you brought Little Bun to my house. You were the first person to congratulate me. Unknowingly, this man had been with her for so long. From being a nobody to finally making a name for herself in her dream. From being someone she thought was impossible to being with, to being with each other today. In the next few days, Ning Shi returned to the set to finish the last few scenes of Ninth Heaven. Meng Shi looked very haggard. Her makeup couldn't cover it up, but because she was very cooperative from beginning to end, the shooting went smoothly. Oh, we're done. Congrats, congrats. Everyone has worked hard. Oh, I can't bear to part with you. I can't bear to part with you. After the last scene ended, all the crew members cheered and even burst into tears. The director's assistant brought over a cake to celebrate. Everyone exchanged contact information and hugged each other reluctantly. Even though it wasn't the first time Ning Shi had experienced such a scene, it was still the happiest and most satisfying moment for her. Hey, what about me? Why do you only know how to hug girls? Jiang Mai's face darkened. Ning Shi smiled and hugged a certain proud golden retriever. Thank you, Senior Jiang. Humph. Feeling the girl's strong hug, Jiang Mai's expression was a little awkward, and he sighed inaudibly. Perhaps he should be glad that he kept that secret so he could stay with her at this moment, instead of being like a certain someone. He didn't know what Ning Shi had done to Mo Chinxiu. This guy had been deeply hurt recently. In short, just by imagining it, one could tell that it would be quite brutal. After a while, they agreed to go to the nearby Four Seasons Hotel for a meal. Ning Shi was walking to the parking lot when she saw someone waiting there. Meng Shi. When Meng Shi saw her, she trembled like a frightened little animal. She didn't even dare to say a word. She bowed deeply and then ran away without looking back, as if there was some dreadful beast behind her. At that time, a certain animal had captured Meng Shi and was prepared to let Ning Shi personally kill her. At that time, Ning Shi just rolled her eyes and refused. She didn't have the hobby of killing people easily. She just said that Nine Heavens was not finished and then left. It was probably because of her words that Meng Shi managed to keep her life. It was said that a certain beast had wiped out the Qing Xian gang in one night. Many of the leaders had switched sides, and more than half of the higher-ups were dead or injured. Meng Jinwan had been imprisoned, and Meng Shi's entertainment company had gone bankrupt and was bought over. Logically speaking, after Yinshin returned to the country, it was necessary to control the underground forces and take over the Qing Xian gang. However, she didn't know why she hadn't taken action yet. The matter of her being kidnapped seemed to have become the fuse, prompting this matter to happen in advance. Chapter 1535. Although that guy could be quite annoying at times, there was no doubt that he was protective of his own people. Ningxi was stunned when she thought of this. It seemed that that guy still put her in his sphere of influence. Now, Mengxi didn't have an entire company around her, and she didn't have a huge background. She was just an ordinary artist in the entertainment industry, and it was already good that she didn't become crazy after being scared by Yunshin. It was even more impossible for her to have any crooked thoughts. Ningxi couldn't sympathize with Mengxi's fate, even if she was a saint. Their world was like this, where the strong preyed on the weak. She had to be prepared to pay the price for what she did. If the person Mengxi kidnapped that day wasn't her, but an ordinary girl, then the girl would be dead now. The next day, the nominees for the 53rd Golden Palm Awards were announced. The biggest annual awards in the entertainment industry immediately attracted the attention of the entire entertainment industry. As soon as the list came out, it caused a huge uproar. The most eye-catching was that Ning Xiaoluo's The World and The Mountain were nominated for Best Actress at the same time. In addition, The Mountain also won 8 awards, including Best Film, Best Director, Best Actress, and Best Supporting Actress. It was the most nominated film in this year's film festival, and it was also a hot favorite to win. All of a sudden, the evaluation of Ning Xiaoluo on the internet rose. All kinds of film critics came out with all kinds of fancy ways to flatter Ning Xiaoluo's performance in these 2 films. Ning Xiaoluo's fans, who had been depressed for a period of time, were all excited because of Ning Xiaoluo's embarrassment at her wedding and being accused of slandering Ningxi. Our Xiaoluo is amazing. 2 nominations for Best Actress. That's amazing. The last time was 10 years ago. An actor's job is to act a good show, unlike someone who only knows how to take advantage of opportunities and steal the limelight. I heard that someone was also nominated for Best Actress this time. TSK. It's just a melodramatic romance, and she was nominated for Best Actress. Are the judges blind? So what? She's definitely a supporting character. Ningxi, a newcomer who had just become famous, was nominated for Best Supporting Actress and Best Actress at the same time. It was expected that she would receive a lot of attention and doubts. Of course, Ningxi's fans' fighting power wasn't just for show. They swarmed to Ning Xiaoluo's fans and anti-fans, and many knowledgeable fans analyzed the inevitability of Ningxi's nomination from all aspects. A melodramatic romance? There's a saying that goes, "What you see is what you see." Only uncultured people like you would think that Dream Seeker is just a melodramatic drama. Our brother, she plays the roles of the female lead and the female lead's twin brother in the drama. He plays 2 different genders at the same time. From the beginning to the end, the transition was seamless, and there was no dissonance at all. I watched it to my heart's content. You call that no acting skills? Also, Brother Shi acted as Meng Chang'e in The World. From an innocent girl to a female general who shouldered the fate of her family to a scheming demon concubine, Meng Chang'e's life was heart-wrenching. At that time, Ningxi was just a newcomer who had just starred in her first movie, but she was already so good. Whoever dares to say that Brother Shi didn't rely on his strength is blind. In short, since the day the list was announced, the 2 sides had been locked in a fierce battle. There were even many people online who placed bets on who would become the best actress. Chapter 1536. Nowadays, many private casinos had opened up, and Ning Xiaoluo had the most bets placed on her. Lu Jingli, on the other hand, had secretly placed a lot of money on his sister-in-law at Starlight Entertainment. Sister Xiaoluo is here. Congratulations, Sister Xiaoluo. Both films were nominated for Best Actress. She's amazing. The World received 4 nominations, and The Mountain received 8. This time, Sister Xiaoluo is definitely going to be the Best Actress. That goes without saying. Sister Xiaoluo's only opponent is herself. Ning Xiaoluo responded to everyone's compliments humbly. It's not as exaggerated as you say. It's just a nomination. Besides, there are many capable candidates this time. Sister Shuela, you're too humble. The Mountain is Director Feng's masterpiece. Who is Director Feng? He's a famous director who has won countless awards. How can those trashy commercial films compare to him? That's right. This award is definitely going to be Sister Shuela's. But someone's fans are hilarious. How dare they compare a popular commercial film to Shuela's film? That dream seeker doesn't even deserve to carry Shuela's shoes. Okay? Someone used The World to get nominated for Best Supporting Actress because of Sister Shuela. How dare they let their fans criticize Sister Shuela? How ungrateful. Ning Shuela listened to everyone's flattery and disdain for Ning Shi for a while. Her gloominess was swept away. She smiled and said, I'll be treating everyone at Haojue tonight. Come over if you're free. Of course, of course. Thank you, Sister Shuela. After Ning Shuela left for a long time, some of the artists behind her gathered in groups and whispered to each other. I don't think anyone knows who the best actress will be this time. Look at her, it looks like it's already in the bag. The internet is full of praise. Who knows how many fake reviewers they've bought? Ning Shi is no longer the girl who used to play small roles under Chong Li. She has good looks, resources, and acting skills now. The 2 films she has made since her debut are of high quality. The Highest of the Heaven, which has just finished filming, is also a big production. I guess it will be a big hit later, with a few more prestigious awards. I think it's only a matter of time before she becomes the second Lung Manyan. She's much more reliable than Su Yimo, who's been playing the role of a goddess for 10,000 years and can't be promoted no matter how hard she tries. Ning Shi's only flaw is her poor family background. I heard that she came from a village and her family is very poor. Her parents are farmers. Compared with Ning Shu, who was born with a silver spoon, she is still not as good as Ning Shu. This kind of thing is born. There's nothing we can do about it. Speaking of this, everyone sighed. After all, like Ning Shi, they were all from ordinary families. They naturally envied and looked up to people like Ning Shu. The Golden Palm Awards this time were especially lively online. The popularity did not dissipate until a month later, when the awards ceremony finally began. Ning Shi was more or less a little nervous. After all, this was her dream for so long, and it was also the time to test the results of her hard work. Before the awards ceremony began, there was a smoky red carpet for celebrities. Every time the Walk of Fame was a place that female celebrities would fight for, and everyone would do their best to compete with each other for beauty. Ning Shi was originally arranged to enter at the same time as another female celebrity, but she did not expect an accident to happen halfway. Chapter 1537. That female star was called Yizi Xuan. She was as beautiful as Ning Shi. She was often called a vase as well as a goddess. Many fans liked to compare Ning Shi and Yizi Xuan together. Because Yizi Xuan had been famous for a long time, she had many fans. Her supporters scolded Ning Shi for overestimating herself. Of course, there were also many who said that Ning Shi was better than the old. Although the 2 of them had never met before, their relationship was actually a little awkward because they were often compared. This time, the organizer deliberately put the 2 of them together to create some hype. After all, too many people wanted to see the 2 of them in the same frame. Lin Jiji naturally knew what the organizers were planning. Originally, she wanted to reject them directly because there would be no harm if there was no comparison. As long as one side's image fell, the other side would be seized by others to trample on and slander them. However, when Lin Jiji saw Ning Shi's appearance on the red carpet, she completely dispelled the idea. She didn't want a Ning, she didn't have any objections, but Yizi Xuan had a problem. She refused to enter the red carpet with Ning Shi just before they were about to walk down the red carpet. Fuck! How could this be? You should have said so earlier if you didn't want to. You only said you didn't want to walk with Brother Shi when we were almost at the door. What a scam! Xiao Tao was furious. Under normal circumstances, because of the limited time, people would enter the red carpet together according to the relevant people of each nominated film, or a male and female team, or a young and old team. Ning Shi and Yizi Xuan could be considered a team. Except for special circumstances, Only people with high status like Best Actor and Best Actress would enter the red carpet alone. But now, Shun Mian and Guo Qixing had already walked down the red carpet, and Ningxi was faced with the situation of walking down the red carpet alone. It was a little awkward. At this time, the black car in front of them stopped. Ning Shuluo and Su Yin got out of the car. Su Yin held Ning Shuluo's hand like a gentleman, and they walked forward together. As one of the biggest shareholders of Starlight Entertainment and Ning Shuluo's husband, it was normal for Su Yin to walk the red carpet hand in hand with her. Suddenly, the lights went off one after another, and the fans on both sides of the red carpet screamed incessantly. Forget about Yi Zixuan, the person walking in front of Ning, she was Ning Shuo. That made things even more awkward. Lin Jiji quickly made a call. Xiaomai, are you coming soon? Ningxi needed a male companion at the moment. Can you hurry over? This time, Xiaomai left alone. Lei Ming had arranged a female companion for him, but he refused no matter what. Anyway, he was used to doing things his own way and didn't care about what others thought of him. What's going on? Didn't Ning Xiaoxi leave with Yi Zixuan? Jiang Mai's voice came from behind. He was still holding his phone. Lin Jiji heaved a sigh of relief when she saw him. She immediately hung up the phone. Fortunately, she was able to call for help. As Jiang Mai spoke, he caught a glimpse of Ning Shi in the carriage. Just a glance and a side view of her face stunned him. No wonder he suddenly understood why Yi Zixuan had betrayed him at the last minute. She must have secretly found out what Ning she was going to wear tonight. This wretched lass. Tonight she was practically possessed by a demon. Which woman would be willing to go with her? Ah, he must be out of his mind. Chapter 1538. However, there would definitely be a line of men who wanted to walk with Ning Shi. He didn't care. Well, as a normal man, he was actually quite willing. TSK, his little assistant was quite smart this time. She knew to ask him for help first. On the stage at this moment, Miss Ning and Mr. Su are indeed a match made in heaven. As expected of our nation's husband and wife. I wish the two of you a happy marriage and have a son soon. I hope that Shui Luo will be able to win the grand prize tonight and have a good harvest in your career and love life. All right, let's invite the two of you in. Although there were only two of them, Ning Shuo and Su Yimo took up a lot of time. After all, they were a popular couple and had a strong background. The host praised them very much before turning to the people who were about to enter the venue. At this moment, the two MCs had already been told that Ning Shi and Yi Zixuan were going to walk separately. However, they didn't know whether it was Ning Shi who refused to go with them or Yi Zixuan who requested it. Under everyone's gaze, a black car slowly stopped at the end of the red carpet. First, a dazzling crystal high heel with diamonds stepped out, followed by a slender white. When the door was completely opened and Ning Shi stepped out of the car, there was a dead silence. It was a strange silence. After a few seconds, the camera flashes went off one after another. The screams of the fans on both sides of the red carpet almost broke through the night sky. Ah, brother Shi, goddess, marry me. Brother Shi, marry me. I want to have your babies. The girl's facial features were exquisite and perfect, as if they were made by the hand of God. Her skin was washed by the moonlight and glowed in the dark. Her black curly hair was like seaweed. Tonight, she was wearing a red evening gown. The evening gown looked as if it had been burned by fire. There were many golden brown burn marks, and the hem of the gown was irregular. Instantly, quite a few people recognized that the piece Ning she was wearing was actually Nirvana, the legendary designer of Zhe Ling's first entry in the competition. He had stood out from the crowd and won the Golden Summit Prize. This bright red outfit was one of the most classic ones. Many actresses, including the famous model Qin Shengyue, had worn it, but none of them could wear it to such a stunning effect. Ning Shi's entire aura was like a phoenix reborn from Nirvana fire, giving people a strong visual impact, perfectly matching the theme of this set of clothes. They all knew that Ning Shi's women's clothes were as stunning as her men's clothes, and they also knew that Ning Shi's beauty had always been extraordinary. But they never expected that she could be so stunning that all the makeup on the scene paled in comparison. In everyone's mind, a phrase suddenly appeared. My flower blooms, 100 flowers kill. At this moment, in a certain high-class apartment, Gong Shangza, Qiao Weilon, Han Momo, and the others were watching the live broadcast of the award ceremony excitedly. When Ningxi appeared on the screen in Nirvana, Gong Shangza's eyes suddenly shone with a dazzling light, and then his eyes quickly became wet. Previously, he had suggested Ningxi to choose the two treasures of the shop, and he also thought that Ningxi's first choice would definitely be those two. In the end, he didn't expect that Ningxi would choose this one without hesitation. She chose this one that he had personally designed and made, and it commemorated his return to his dream, Nirvana. Chapter 1539. The moment Ningxi appeared, the two MCs on the stage looked at each other and saw the same thought in each other's eyes. No wonder Yi Zixuan didn't want to go with Ningxi. It was definitely not Ningxi's fault. It was Yi Zixuan who refused to be in the same frame. Not to mention Yi Zixuan, which woman in the audience was willing to go with her. Wasn't that asking for trouble? Ning Xiuhua deliberately slowed down. She wanted to see Ningxi's expression when she saw her and Su Yin together. However, she never expected that this damned woman could attract the attention of the whole audience with only her face. She was even more eye-catching than she was just now. This bitch. She was indeed a vixen. At this moment, Su Yin was in a trance. His eyes were also filled with amazement. He listened to the audience's experience and felt the men's scorching gazes on her. His heart was filled with indescribable feelings. The little girl from back then had now become a dazzling superstar that could cause the downfall of a city. And the woman in front of him, who could make all men crazy, had her first love, the first person she liked, was him. She used to love him so much, adore him, and was willing to give up everything for him. Thinking of this, Su Yan's eyes suddenly burned with a strange sense of satisfaction. But the next second, he seemed to have thought of something and immediately became gloomy. Ningxu naturally noticed Su Yan's gaze. She looked at him with a forced expression and said in a slightly disappointed tone, "Big brother Yin, I'm so pretty today. She's better than all the other female celebrities." Su Yin nodded. Yes, she is. If it was in the past, he might have cared about Ning Xiuhua's feelings and comforted her by saying that she was also very beautiful because of their different styles. But now, he really couldn't say anything against his heart. Ning Xiuhua was speechless and her nails almost dug into the flesh of her palm. She gritted her teeth and looked at Ningxi again with a gloomy face. She saw that Ningxi got out of the car alone and didn't have anyone with her. As far as she knew, Yi Zixuan was supposed to go with Ningxi tonight, but it seemed that Yi Zixuan wouldn't appear. A tall tree attracts the wind. She deliberately showed off tonight. She would suffer later. As for Ningxi, Lin Jiji had already talked to Jiang Mai for her. After Ningxi got out of the car, she waited for Jiang Mai, who was in the car behind her, while tidying up her skirt. At the same time, she greeted the photographers and fans around her, who kept shouting, "Brother Shi, look over here!" Hearing the sound of steady footsteps, Ningxi turned around subconsciously and was about to go with Jiang Mai. But the next second, she was stunned. Under her surprised gaze, the man naturally walked to her side, adjusted the hem of her dress, and then stood by her side, gesturing for her to hold his arm. Ningxi looked at the newcomer in surprise. Sweetheart? He had a face that could steal the brilliance of the sun and the moon. He had a powerful aura that belonged to a superior. He was like a proud and aloof aristocrat from a foreign country. Every move he made was pleasing to the eye. Every frame of the screenshot could be called a fashion blockbuster. He was more outstanding than any of the male celebrities present. Who else could it be but Lu Tingxiao? Why are you here? Ningxi lowered her voice and asked. Aren't you in need of a male companion? Lu Tingxiao asked with a deadpan tone. Ningxi's mouth twitched slightly. I need a male companion because I don't want to stand out on the red carpet alone. But if the male companion is you, then I'll stand out even more. Chapter 1540. But Lu Tingxiao was so fucking handsome today. In front of such a beauty, she couldn't bring herself to say no. What a tragedy. After an extremely painful struggle, Ning Shi held Lu Tingxiao's arm without hesitation. Anyway, she could blame it all on Yi Zixuan. It was Yi Zixuan who refused to go with her. She could just say that Lu Tingxiao came to save the day. Ning Shi found a perfect excuse to cover up the fact that she was attracted to Lu Tingxiao. Seeing Ning Shi take Lu Tingxiao's arm and walk down the red carpet together, all the media, invited guests, and onlookers almost went crazy. Oh my God! Who is that? Who is that? Which star is Brother Shi's partner today? Why have I never seen him before? How can I not remember such a good-looking man? He's definitely not an actor. I guess he's the boss or a senior executive of some company. Because of the double visual feast, the fans were already in an uproar. Some people in the industry who recognized Lu Tingxiao were shocked. What the fuck? Am I seeing things? Is Ning Shi's partner Lu Tingxiao? Several artists from Shengshu Entertainment were also very excited. Oh my God! Brother Shi is so beautiful today. Even the big boss came to steal our eyes. Our company's combination is simply the best in history. Amazing! Ha ha ha! Starlight Entertainment is so stupid. How dare you brag in the future? How dare you sell yourself as the most good-looking person? In terms of looks, we are hundreds of streets ahead of him. One was a passionate fire. The other was a quiet black. They walked hand in hand leisurely. It was only a short red carpet, but the two of them walked out of the wedding venue. It was so dazzling that everyone's eyes were almost blinded. A certain Zhang Jinmao almost spat blood on the spot. Fuck, how can you cut me off like this? And Ning Xiaoxi, you're blinded by beauty. How could you go with him like this? Lu Jingli patted his nephew on the shoulder. We're all in the same boat. Don't be sad. Uncle will accompany you. Jiang Mai, who needs your company? When Ning Shi and Lu Tingxiao finally walked to the signature wall, the two hosts finally came back to their senses. The two of them looked at each other and felt a little awkward. They had just praised Su Yin and Ning Shula to the heavens, saying that they were the most good-looking couple in the entertainment industry and that they were the most eye-catching couple tonight. Now, in front of these two people, they were simply killed in an instant without even ashes left. Welcome to our brother Shi. Oh no, I should say goddess Shi tonight. Welcome our goddess Shi and boss Lu. The two of you are too eye-catching tonight. Yes, yes, the combination of a handsome man and a beautiful woman is a feast for our eyes. At the entrance, Su Yin looked at the man beside Ning Shi, his face pale. Even though Lu Tingxiao was the big boss of Shengshu Entertainment, and it was normal for him to walk the red carpet with his artists, he still felt gloomy and anxious when he saw Ning Shi holding this man's arm. He even had a crazy thought. If he was the man next to Ning Shi, after sending these two off, the couple behind them was also eye-catching. Lu Jingli put his arm around Jiang Mai's shoulder and dragged him to the red carpet. One of them was smiling like a peach blossom in March, while the other looked arrogant and impatient, which made the fans' Fujoshi souls burn. You're tuning into the Romance Rendezvous YouTube channel. We're so grateful for your support, and don't forget to subscribe to join us on this incredible journey through captivating stories. Your generosity through donations truly makes a world of difference, as it's the primary source of revenue that allows me to expand and enhance this channel for you. Thank you from the bottom of my heart for being a part of this adventure.